This episode of Limit Break Radio is made possible by our generous Patreon donors, including Damage Atten of Sergeant Tanis, Clive Hawkins of Excalibur, and Valdis Lunaris of Ultros. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/Limit Break Radio.
Live from Eorzea.
Limit Break with your hosts, Nero.
Those racist teenagers online are gonna butt ram me.
Kahlo.
That's my shib.
Juxtaposition.
Yay!
Ascalia.
Who are you calling drunk? You're not drunk, I'm drunk.
And Mika.
What is happening?
LimitBreakRadio.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Limit Break Radio.
A radio retaliates!
Whoa.
I was ready that time.
Out of nowhere.
I was ready.
I
readied.
Clearly. Welcome to the show, episode number 26. An exciting show for you today. Because we don't do this very often. We have callers. We have a lot of interaction to the show. But today we have a very special guest joining us.
Super special guest.
Good friend to the show.
Ultra special guest.
PvP expert. All around awesome dude. Joe Never Fails. Joe, how you doing, man? Welcome to Limit Break Radio.
What's up, guys?
Dude, it's good to finally have you on. We've been talking about having you on as a guest for a long time, ever since FanFest. And there was a while that kind of PvP wasn't as supported development side as maybe some of the PvP community would have liked to see. But now with Seal Rock and the PvP roulette, it is a bit more of a lively community these days. And so we thought we would have you on and discuss a little bit about PvP. So Joe, thank you for joining us today, dude.
Thanks for having me.
And, of course, we are live from Eorzea. Let's bring up the studio cam. We're live in the studio. Hey, look at that. Woo. Got a pretty decent live audience going here.
Look at the glamour. There was a Calat out there, was the first one there.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome.
Yep.
So, of course, joining me, as always, we've got Juxtaposition. How's it going?
I'm doing great. Notice my glamour. I am a giant sentinel of unmovingness.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what your glamour was exactly, and it's just, all I see is a bunch of metal.
I know. Because it's PvP, I am the metal.
I feel like that's right up your alley, though, Nero.
Well,
I'm more metal than a Nero.
It's obnoxious, is what it is. I mean, you're getting.
Whoa! Are you calling metal obnoxious?
No. I'm calling your shoulder pauldron obnoxious. That's like WoW.
I was gonna say, yeah. Where'd you come from, Blizzard?
Yeah, seriously.
Hey, well, it's
go back to Azeroth.
It's Raubon inspired, okay?
Go back to Azeroth, you filthy dark elf.
Dark what?
I don't know. It shows you how much I play that.
He'd be a Drane. That's what they are.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Fair enough. Anyway, so welcome to the show. Also joining me is Kahlo Landis, surprisingly in studio today.
Yeah, I make it when I can, and you guys are able to, get around my busy, hectic schedule that isn't flexible at all because my work is stupid and dumb.
Well, maybe you should quit one of your two jobs.
Excuses.
Yeah.
Also joining us, Nika Kayanian. How you doing today?
What's up?
Nika is, we've got to give you some extra credit here because you have been moving this week, and and still made it here, and that's pretty impressive. So
more can be said about certain number 6.
Yeah, who's not joining it? Actually, come on now, let's be fair. Now, Ascalia Raimasa, not with us today. He is letting his voice relax after doing an epic 24-hour stream, and I think I know why you have a little bit of saltiness in your voice.
Don't start this, because you made mention of it the other day, and I didn't say anything because I'm like, first of all, I don't want to step all over Ascalia because he did a great job for a great cause.
No, you're okay. You know what? You're just jumping the gun. Okay,
yeah.
Congratulations go out to Ascalia, who had a really successful 24-hour stream called Seeds of Acceptance that went down right here on twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio, where all proceeds from that 24-hour stream went to Go Affirmations. And in 24 hours, 1 minute and 34 seconds, Ascalia was able to successfully pull off a clutch kill on the Final Fantasy VIII final boss. He was even down.
Was it a clutch kill?
It was a clutch. He was down a party member. He was down to 2.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so
that's really bad in 8.
It was a most impressive defeat, and had some. That stream had some really great moments. I sat there entertained, watching for hours. So congratulations go out to Ascalia, who raised a total of $2,100. $2,100 and 12 cents.
Excuse me.
Oh.
He raised $1,950. I raised $150 of it. He didn't break 2,000.
Bullshit.
I helped with it.
No. You can't. No. You can't.
$150 of that is mine.
You can't. You cannot claim this like you claim other people's DPS. Okay. You can't.
This is trick attack damage.
No, it's not.
And I claim the $10 I donated.
It's not. It's not.
Okay, that's fine. Take your $10.
$2,100 even and 12 cents, making it a palindrome. Which there was this really interesting competition going on between factions on the stream: Team Palindrome, Team Breakers, and Team Fixers. That was really cool to watch. But Kahlo, I think you're just salty because Ascalia was able to top your 18,000 that you raised.
Congratulations, Ascalia! 24 hours to raise 21, and I did 18 and 8. Congratulations.
Ooh.
See, I didn't want to have to do this, but Aniro, you put me in a spot. You made this into a competition. Ascalia, just know that none of this hate is on you. You did a great job. I had fun watching you. This is just, I can't let him come up in here and, challenge me like that and not butt heads a little bit.
No,
so that's nothing to you, Ascalia. Much love.
I don't think you could do it again. I don't think you could get 1,800. I don't think you could get 2,200.
Okay.
I'm butthurt, man.
Even if you had 24 hours, I don't think you could.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Congratulations, Ascalia, for beating Kahlo.
Beating him like
number
a redheaded
one, and
stepchild.
then for your successful stream, that was really entertaining to watch. It was really awesome, and
your 1940 is truly an inspiration.
No, 1930. Give Nika her 10.
I gave her her 10.
Oh, okay. All right.
So anyway, congratulations go out to him. He's recovering right now, and obviously that's totally justified. So could not unfortunately be here with us today. So but shout out to him. He did a really great job with that. So again, if you'd like to see some of the highlights from that's going to be at our YouTube page, youtube.com/Limit Break Radio. You can check out the archive in full at our Twitch page, of course, here at twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. And we'll probably have some links to it at our brand new website over at limitbreakradio.com. All right. So let's move into talking about some news. Following a notable press event where Final Fantasy XIV has some sort of significant presence there, it always follows that there will be interviews where Yoshida will continue to drop additional hints towards 3.1 and even 3.2. So there's been a couple of interviews that have been circling the community, and then there's been there's kind of been some other information that's been circulated that hasn't been totally verified. But let's talk about some of this interview information, starting with the Game Watch interview done out at Gamescom 2015. The question is there anything else you can discuss about 3.1? Yoshida responds, the new series of 24-man raids will begin there as well, but I can't really talk about the direction of any of that content, as that's information we'll start to reveal at the 24-hour broadcast for the second anniversary. There will be a fairly large update for the Gold Saucer, which will include quite a bit of new Chocobo Racing and Triple Triad content. Woohoo! We're also looking at increasing the payout of MGP to allow players to buy multiple weekly lottery tickets. We don't know whether this will all make patch 3.1, but we're looking at a number of ways to increase the earnings. That follows up with the question, will there be new types of content in every patch? Yoshida,
this is what Nero's been waiting for.
And this is a really interesting response from Yoshida. He says the production cost of instant dungeons is not that high. So we think that we will continue, those will continue to be included in every patch. We're trying to understand our workflow and overall schedule and upcoming new elements better so that we can understand if it makes sense to pool certain costs from 2 patches and have one large update. We are planning to add a bunch of content in the 3.x series that's unlike what we've had before. Really encouraged by that statement. Perhaps some of the content will fail, but at least we can say that we're trying a bunch of new things. I think we developed a pretty solid foundation of gameplay with the 2.0 series, so now we're proposing new things that we haven't done before. I am really encouraged by that response. Good. That's what we need.
That's what we've been saying that I thought would happen. 2.0 sets the foundation, and now we take off.
So Salt of the Earth and Nero can stop being like, where they at, though? Where they at, though?
Well, they still have to produce it. I mean, it's one thing
but now they've actually said, because that was one of your things, like, well, they haven't said it. Where's it at? Where's they at? They haven't said anything.
Good point. I mean, this upcoming 2-year anniversary stream is going to tell us a whole lot about the direction of this game. I'm really excited. I think I'm as equally excited for the developer, the producer letter as I am for the lore panel that's going to be going down.
Pergaburst Crucible.
That's going to be really interesting. We don't know what's on the docket for them to talk about. Anything is fair game, and they have not said much additionally about the 3.0 lore, so it'll be nice that it may get expanded on here.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I think that's some really, really encouraging statements there from Yoshi P. So the main story in the 2.x series included lead-ins to the 3.0 story. Do you plan to do the same thing during the story of the 3.x series? Yoshida states that, like in the 2.x series, we'll continue to add hints towards the 4.0 series in the 3.x main scenario. I think it's been pretty serious so far in 3.0, but we were able to have some more joke material in the 2.x series, so we're doing our best to include that kind of content as well. With the favorable reception to 3.0, I think everyone's expectation of the story are rising, so we want to make sure that we maintain an interesting story throughout the 3.x series and further expand on that with 4.0. Obviously they're building a foundation, much like the way that they started to tease out content in 3.0. In 2.0, they're going to be doing that again.
Yeah, one of the things that Square Enix has always been great at is both character and world building. So of course, we're going to see more of that going forward. That's not something that they're going to start to skimp on all of a sudden.
Absolutely. Another question refers to Hildebrand and whether we'll see his return in 3.0. The Final Fantasy series has a history of having not only a serious side, but running gags as well. So I'm wondering if we could add more of those types of characters. As one example from the Final Fantasy series in FF8, there was a lot of stuff related to the school. As we come up with new things, we're wondering if someone like Hildebrand should be involved with that.
Confirmed hot dogs in Final Fantasy 14.
Did I just blow your mind?
I kind of saw this as a confirmation that Hildebrand was one of the orphanage kids. That everyone just, accidentally forgot about.
No, because of the GFs.
Because of the GFs. It wasn't an accident.
No, it's Hildebrand. Everyone purposely forgot about him. They're like, that weird kid?
Yes, Deus Ex GF
GFI.
Yeah, whatever. So there was a question about collector's items and whether or not they were going to look into doing something like maybe a graphic novel or taking the lore and making it a series of books. And they said that they would be focused on collector's items for now, and that a question to follow up on that were collector's items are intended for the existing players. And Yoshida responds with, so we have to make sure that we're doing the right thing for people who have invested in the game's development. For example, of course, there is interest in anime, but if you have a niche subject like an MMORPG and you try to make it to a main stage like animation, it's too easy to lose control of the content and focus completely on the profitability. So it could create a situation where there's lack of confidence in the direction of the game. Since we're operating globally, not just in Japan, we want to make sure that we keep everyone happy. I was having a few drinks with Matsuno, who is a game designer. I'm not sure who. Maybe he works on for. I'm not. Somebody tell me who this guy is. Yasumi Matsuno, who wrote some of the side quests. Okay, he says right there, who wrote some of the side quests. And we were talking about charging for game-related things.
Did you even try?
Game-related things like that. We decided that first we would need to check with gamers and the players to see if it was a good idea. The entertainment industry has developed a lot since the time of 11, so it's inevitable that the idea of something like a novel would come up, but we would need to make sure it was profitable. What I like there is that, they are bringing the attention to the fact that, look, a clear audience needs to exist for this before we can even come close to approaching an idea like that. But a lot of interesting things to know that anime, novels, comic books are even a consideration at this point. That's pretty cool.
When it comes to novels, obviously they've worked out very well for World of Warcraft expanding their lore. They have just tons of them. And with Mass Effect, they've released a couple comics that help fill in the gaps in between those games in the trilogy. So it's not unprecedented.
Sure.
I want to see anime minphilia.
Why?
Boobs?
Oh, boobs.
He says anime, but what he means is hentai.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Gross.
We have Ultros. It'll work.
Oh.
He went there.
A rainbow should shoot out every time you open it.
What? Wait, that drop did not make any sense.
Oh, if you're where his head did, I'm sure it
what are you opening?
Sense.
I may take you off of drop duty.
You said duty.
So this question, actually, this got my attention. The question was, you just started the community radio, but do you have any other community activities this year? So I did a little bit of digging about what the community radio is, because of course, if Square Enix starts something related to 14 called community radio, I gotta know what it is.
Like, why aren't we on that?
Why? Wait,
because you're assholes.
We were never asked to be on that. It's actually a Japanese only service that is kind of similar to a little bit like what we do, and what Limit Breaking News does, where they come in and after the patch notes, they'll like summarize it, or like after a dev panel they'll summarize it or whatever for the Japanese audience
in like podcast form, basically.
I don't know how it's distributed. I've seen links to live streams that have gone on YouTube before, but I don't know where like an MP3 archive of something like that might exist. If somebody wants to provide a link to that, I'd totally really be interested in checking it out. But my very not deep dive of Google that I did when researching this,
he went all the way to page 3.
I went all the way. No,
wow.
I went to half of page 1. I mean, I don't.
If it's not on page 1, it doesn't exist.
It doesn't. Yeah, that's true. So anyway, Yoshida responds, first of all, and I give credit to the community management development team for coming up with this idea. We're looking at starting a roundtable discussion with the 14-hour live broadcast. This will be something relatively new in Japan. For community sites overseas at events like Gamescom, we usually make ourselves available for interviews from community sites. Not to Limit Break Radio.
Have we made ourselves available to them? Beyond just having a link on our About page?
We tried at FanFest.
Yeah, there was a bit of effort expended at FanFest, sure. But
FanFest, come on. How many people said, hey, come join me on my podcast at FanFest? Come on.
All 19 other podcasts that exist out there, I'm sure. But anyway, they do usually make themselves pretty available for interviews at stuff like Gamescom and E3 and stuff like that. Representatives from the sites that have influence in the region come with questions from players, and we give our responses. So I guess apparently we don't have influence. That's what the subtext of that is.
Now who's getting salty?
In fact, we've been doing things like this for 4 years, so we're familiar with a number of different people from community sites in each region. I think that was also
4 years. Oh, honey, that's cute.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Let me know when you get the double digits, buddy. Actually, no. I think what the 4 years is referencing is the community podcast tour that they did with the community sites. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Anyway, thanks to the increasing number of new generation players, it's been very interesting working with the community in Japan with things like the screenshot contest and to see the writing the community has come up with. So we decided to try this out for the first time during the 14-hour live broadcast. We should have moved in this direction earlier, but we want to keep it going moving forward. Community and development teams. The responding question is community and development teams sometimes not getting along with it. Not getting along is a criticism outside of Japan as well. And then Yoshida says something really interesting here. I give a lot of credit to those who voice their opinion about what they enjoy and what they don't in a neutral way. Well, fuck me. So I thought it would be a great idea if we could further enhance that relationship by collaborating more on articles or by talking to those people in person. AKA, this is why we don't do shit with Limit Break Radio.
But, I mean, it kind of sounds like they're trying to have a bigger initiative moving forward. So maybe
really?
Now they might start.
Guys.
We've had the same email address for 10 years.
Guys.
I think that they know where to find us.
Come on. Do you blame them?
No. No, not at all. I understand. I get it.
Like, how many lawyers must they have on retainer if they're going to come in and do an interview with us, right? You can't say that.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't use that word. Just omit that part. Just censor the whole thing.
Don't play that song. Don't mention that site. Anyway, so that just some really interesting statements there from Yoshi P, and I'm going to consider that
indirectly referencing.
Yes, I'm going to consider that as acknowledgement.
Did Senpai notice us?
You know what? I'm going to say that he did. I'm going to just say that he did. So who wants to expand on some of these interview notes about the jpgames.de interview, which, by the way, I've never heard of this site.
No, me either.
jpgames.de, but whatever.
I think it's from Denmark.
You know what? They get a fucking interview with Yoshi P, but...
No, I think that's Germany.
How many?
I'm pretty sure that's Germany.
How many dick jokes think they make a day, though?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, apparently one of the things they asked was about if there's any plans for a 1v1 dueling system, and... apparently they get asked that all the time, which I'm not surprised. I mean, you see it in a lot of games now. But essentially, they said no. There's way too many problems that come up because of this.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. And the number one reason is that the jobs aren't balanced for 1v1. You know, there's no way that an astrologian would be a scholar. Joe, did you have something to weigh in on that?
Yeah, they missed the complete point of this whole question, but you keep going.
Yeah. So they basically say, in order to make it fun, because in certain cases, like again, astrologer versus an astrologian, nobody would win that fight, and it wouldn't be fun. And in order to make it fun, they would have to start balancing for PvP, which would then affect PvE, and you just get into a whole different ball game with it. And they did say, though, but if you want to request something like how to calculate how much damage you deal for test purposes, then you can let us know and we can look into it. But I'm like, what?
Wait, what?
Wait, huh?
That's completely different from dueling system is parsing. What?
I don't understand why they like completely misdirected at the end of that question to something completely off base. But
I think they were thinking people parse by attack. Like they went into 1 versus 1 to like test your parse. But I don't think that's what.
No, that's what training dummies are for.
Right? Yeah. And if you want to do like PvP test parsing, I feel like PvP is just a completely different element. That how much damage output you have over a sustained period of time it doesn't make sense there. Do you have anything else to add on to that, Joe?
Yeah, it's one of those things where like the whole point of 1v1 dueling wouldn't be for me to just randomly say I want to fight someone. I want to fight you
because you're being a dick.
I want to walk up to you, take my gauntlet off, and smack you upside the head. I want to fight you. Let's throw down.
Yeah, I mean that's what I've been saying. The whole reason I never got into PvP in the first place is like obviously they're not balanced. I know it's not balanced, but I could just go in with my friend and just be like, I want to fight you for the fun of it because we're friends. I don't fucking care about like a random person. Like it doesn't have to be a duty finderable thing.
Yeah, it doesn't. Something like that doesn't have to be instanced either.
It could just be in the open world, just like an option you press.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, this game it just steals enough from World of Warcraft. Why not just steal another fucking thing?
But, and I'll play the devil's advocate here, you are going to, of course, end up having, even if you just put in just for the fun of it, we're not going to balance it, it's just for the people that want it, you are invariably going to have those people that are like, no, I'm a scholar, I can't kill anyone in 1v1, boo-hoo-hoo, help me.
Which is wrong, by the way.
Yeah.
Scholars are
badass.
Super open.
Scholars are badass.
Well, fine. Astrologans, whatever
it is.
You're gonna have those whiners.
Paladins.
Bad people always bitch about the extenuating circumstance about why they're bad. Okay,
well, they're already bitching about it in like front lines and shit. So what's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
They're already bitching. So
let them keep
it out your ass.
Just let them keep complaining. It's fine.
Yeah. They go on to ask. There were plans for a jukebox in the housing area. Many people spend a lot of time there and they hear the same music. Is there any idea to allow changing the music? They respond with, actually, there is a feature called Orchestrium. Slightly unsure if that is the exact name, where you can choose the current background music, or you can switch to what you want to listen to. We are working on it already, and we have a concept already. However, we currently must focus on so many things, so it will be pushed back a little bit. We won't be able to make it for patch 3.1, but we are working on it. So that's pretty cool, I guess.
That's cool.
Yeah, that I definitely into that idea. And you know what? Yeah, when it does the music's not great to just listen to on repeat over and over and over again. So
that's why you just turn off the sound and you pop onto YouTube or something.
Yeah. So Nika, why don't you tell us about some of the so fascinating points made in the well-respected and long-running publication that is PCGamesN.com.
What's the N?
Because they get a fucking interview and we don't.
What's the N stand for?
Tell him.
New.
Who cares?
Network. I don't know.
No, they come after PC Games M.
Who cares? Anyway.
There was just a couple of quotes that came out of this, not too many. The new 24-person raid, it's like the same size and scale as Crystal Tower, will be added in 3.1. It's not like a normal raid, though, and everyone's been talking about this since I've seen this interview, that you will use airships to visit floating islands and explore them when you land. Anyone can join, so long as you don't exceed the 24-person limit. So I don't know if that's like you join, you explore something, and you leave, and someone else jumps in and takes your place.
What it sounds like is that a Nero's exploring thing is now being made the new Crystal Tower, so it's going to be piss easy and anybody can do it regardless of their free company.
No, I think it doesn't say that. It says you use airships to visit floating islands. The only airship you can have is a free company airship.
Yeah.
You cannot get on an airship without a free company.
You are 100% right. I'm sure that Sid isn't going to show up at the fucking Enterprise, and what they mean by this is you just get to choose which bosses you do first.
I don't know. I think that they're maybe just trying to hide some of the information, like they said, until the 14-hour broadcast.
This gives me hope. This actually gives me gives me a little bit of hope. Here.
I read this and I am actually I'm going to throw my hat in the ring, and I'm going to say that when this actually comes out, it is going to be underwhelming. It is going to cause a Nero to rage up a storm, and we're going to have to salt the earth again.
What they said is they're trying new things. Some of it might fail, and as long as we present our dislike in a neutral way, they will look into it.
You hear that, Nero? A neutral way.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
I think the next time that you get salty in an episode, we should do a little bit where you go ahead and rage out, and then I will translate it into a neutral way.
You can be my anger translator. Yes. Oh my God,
that's a great idea.
Let's just steal things from Key and Peele. Totally, I'm into it. So yes. It gives me a little bit of hope. It does sound a little bit like what.
I think they will probably expand on that in the 14-hour broadcast.
What my hope is that the part that last part, anyone can join in so long as you don't exceed the 24-person limit. What my hope is that there's going to be some kind of condition to that, or it's going to take some time before you're able to just pop it into Duty Finder or whatever. You know what I mean?
For those of you at home, we all have our own individual outlines up, but Aniro still likes to point to the screen when he's talking about stuff, and I really like that.
It helps him, okay?
I think that spot actually it leads into the people that obviously you're going to be going in with your free company airship, but it leads into anyone can join. So let's say, for example, you're not in a free company, you can have people come in and also join in that company.
That is unacceptable to me. That is unacceptable.
Or let's say you're in a really, really shitty free company like Kahlo and Juxta, and you don't have enough people to be able to fill out a full run. You can take as much of your free company as you want, and then you can just sort of fill in the spots.
Maybe there's an option to open it to people outside of your free company.
How many airships?
How many airships do you guys got?
I don't know. I've never even bothered to look.
Oh, you should, because we have 3.
Yeah,
that's nice. Now. That's cool.
But again, do you have 24 people?
Yeah, you don't have 24 people.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. If we have a better airship than you guys do with all the hate you're throwing at us, I just think that'd be really funny. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think so. Mm-hmm. Anyway, all right. So there's a second point.
Yeah, there's a few things here. The next thing says that they're working on something specifically for grand companies, not free companies, which will allow you to hire NPCs into your army, which is a new element we think will expand options within the game.
That sounds really interesting, although it does also sound suspiciously like the, what do you call it, the FF11
trust
thing?
System?
Yeah, the trust system, thank you.
But the trust system, anyone can just kind of hire whoever wants to get the unlocking thing, right? I feel like this is going to be something like each grand company can hire a specific NPC for a certain amount of time, and they'll help with the big grand company.
I feel like this sounds really familiar, and I can't place what game it's from. Maybe it was something that was rumored at some point, but to where, basically you can go around, hire them into your free company. So, if the Maelstrom has, what's that dude who said that he beat Titan, that giant Rogdarin, the one that I'm talking about, that's every time you go to him.
The guy who said it was Titus?
Yeah, Titus, or he beat Leviathan or whatever. Yeah, whatever his name is. You can hire him, and your grand company benefits in some way, but then after so much time, or,
his contract expires.
Yeah, or if some other, somebody else from a different grand company offers him, I don't know, something more, whatever it is that you use. But, I think it would be cool because that can also, put more of a twist on the whole.
Yeah, but there's no grand scale conflict that any of the grand companies are involved in,
unless they come out with a new PvP where they can pop in there. Maybe that's something we'll get to. I don't know.
Dude, you can hire the NPCs, go into a PvP, and if you're on that specific grand company, you have that then again, it's cross server and different servers.
I think it's interesting. Joe, did you have anything to add to that?
I think that. That whole thing is going to change soon and needs to change. So I'm not a very big fan of the grand company restricted content or specific content myself personally.
They've had the grand company specific content in there for so long. I mean, even going back to 1.0, it hasn't changed virtually since 1.0. They've got to do something with it. It is probably one of the most untouched systems that actually still has relevance and a point in the game that they just completely don't develop.
Yeah, and it's something that they should change before it's too late.
I agree. Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, they did mention when 1.0 came out that there was going to be a thing for grand companies or free companies to be able to have contracts for the primals, right? To there was one point. Your free company can have Shiva for a while, and then after it expires, then someone else can summon Shiva.
They had talked about free roaming primals, sort of like as NMs, which I thought was always an interesting idea, which they may have brought to fruition with things like the Odin Fate, that may technically qualify as that idea.
I remember their quote was when you summon a primal, everyone will know because the sky and the weather will change. And I mean, Odin does have his own weather.
There you go. So, I mean, Congratulations. There's your free roaming primal. Hope everyone's happy with that. Yeah, another fucking fates. Okay, great. Nika, why don't you...
Yeah, the last point here is talking about the subscription model. As we know, things like ESO have went to the buy-to-play type of model. And so apparently in line with the desire for continued expansion, a secret unnamed French agency was hired in 2014 to survey FF14 players on their views regarding the subscription model. Since the release, FF14 has been staunchly dedicated to asking for a monthly fee from players in order to access the game, flying in the face of countless other titles that opted for the free-to-play route. The agency's finding was that 82% of the surveyed players did not want the current pricing plan to change in order to incorporate the free-to-play, so they want it to stay the way that it is, providing that the justification required to continue on the same monetary path that the game has been treading. Yoshida, however, is vocal in his belief that far too much is written about the impact that free-to-play could potentially have on an MMO's player base.
Now, I really want to stress this statistic. This is 82% of the player base. Didn't say that they didn't have an opinion about the subscription model. Didn't say that they're just sort of satisfied with the way that it is. They actively said they do not want the model to change. I would say that's goddamn successful. I mean, in terms of an MMO these days, Yoshida's exactly right. Way too much has been made of the free-to-play model, and this is the best example of that. This is what happens when you have all of your elements pretty much correct in your MMO.
I wonder exactly how that survey was presented. Like the 82% of people, is that like, no, I don't want it to be cheaper, I don't want it to be anything, obviously no one wants to pay more money for something.
Fair question,
yeah. Or going free to play, obviously it'd be nice not to pay money, but you also know that that's going to affect the game in some way. It can't not,
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that'd be interesting to know.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, but, microtransactions and...
No, you're
it's
absolutely
not Candy
right,
Crush, yo. Not Candy Crush.
Right.
That is an app, not a game. Oh, whoops.
It's a way of life.
Show.
Yeah, wrong show, man. Wrong show. That comes out of the article from PC Games N. We'll have a link to all of these articles at our website, limitbreakradio.com. And there was a blog post published at a place called sakura.ne.jp that has some... I'm gonna call it unconfirmed. I'm not gonna call it dubious. Dubious sounds a little bit judgmental. I'm gonna call this unconfirmed information.
This is all stuff that was said in like a prior announcement that's just like rehashing old information.
Are you sure?
I'm almost positive.
But now it's more confirmed, I feel like. It's always been rumors.
So, I mean, some of it is like that, this one here, that the last 24-man content was a reference to Final Fantasy III's Crystal Tower, and that this time the 24-man raid will be something FF14 original. You're right.
I can confirm that he said that at one point.
Yeah, that's what I feel like a lot of this is stuff that we've heard before, and now they're just
stuff that we can expect.
But there are points that we haven't heard before, like, for example, that there are no planned changes from the previous Crystal Tower's difficulty and build on mechanics. That none of the interviews stated that. I cannot confirm that piece of information. It's a disappointing rumor. That's all I'm going to call it, is a rumor.
Hold on. I mean, it's not obviously a direct confirmation of that. But I mean, in that earlier thing from Gamescom that you mentioned with Yoshida, that they basically used 2.0 to get to a point where they have a solid model foundation going forward, and then from there they want to build more new content. So that would obviously, to me, that makes sense that instance dungeons and even the 24-man raid would continue to at least be where it was and how it worked in the previous one, and then they could build outward from there. So again, it's not a direct confirmation, but it doesn't surprise me.
If they're extrapolating that statement from that interview, I'm going to call bullshit on that.
Yeah,
that is jumping to conclusions right there.
I'll give you that.
And the final point, unconfirmed, don't know, but it's logical and it makes sense that you can access the new 24-man raid without clearing the Crystal Tower.
Taking gating content to a whole new level.
That would be funny. That would be funny.
Crystal Tower is not hard to beat, so.
But nobody does it.
Right, it is.
That's not true. I queue up for it I
It
did
is
it
hard.
all last
You
week.
queue up for it right now. You prove that.
Yeah, I actually did all 3 and I got my tombstone for the weekly quest. It's not, I mean, it's the queue time's like 45 minutes, but you can definitely get in.
Oh yeah, that's reasonable. So another thing that they mentioned was something called the Beginner's Palace.
Can we get a better name, guys?
Well, it's a question mark. It says
I know.
All of this is just rumor, but implementing an area where you can practice mechanics, etc. Again, if they're extrapolating this from old interviews, they never confirmed this. They said that it's an idea that might be something that they can look into down the line. They never confirmed any of this. Training dummy can now measure your DPS without third-party programs. That's wow.
I don't remember ever hearing them talk about that.
I've never heard any statement like that before.
Yeah.
Again,
that would be cool.
But again, this is why
you know what this sounds like?
Buttressing this with
I feel like
lots
there was
of
a
disclaimers.
Square Enix intern that was like trying to get with some reporter chick from Sakura, right? He went out and got drunk, and he's just spouting off all this stuff that he's heard before, being like, "No, I got inside information about all this stuff. I'll give you an interview."
Yeah, that sounds legit.
Yeah.
And plan to be a larger facility / area than expected. So not sure if we're going to see it with the upcoming patch of 3.1. And finally, in here, there's going to be a new weapon quest for the 3.0 equivalent for whatever a Zodiac weapon would be. And the 2.x series Zodiac weapon quest continuation, a new series rather than a sequel to the Zodiac Brave Quest. And Zodiac weapon owners will start the quest with a little advantage.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
I want to hear that out of Yoshi's mouth, though.
I do too.
You know, everyone's been having that rumor, like, oh, might as well get your weapon, even though you can outclass it by a random story quest weapon, just in case you get an advantage. But he's never confirmed that out of his lips.
The advantage is just going to be like not needing to like kill 800 mobs to start the step. That's all it's going to be.
That's a cool advantage. I will take that advantage.
It does say not just one step. You know, it's not just going to give you one step. It may give you a statistical advantage. It may give you, I don't know.
I don't think it would be something permanently lasting like a statistical advantage.
Yeah, I couldn't see. At least
but
not.
I do like that idea though.
Maybe materia slots or whatever the materia was for your relic weapon will start off at that.
I mean, like, it doesn't. I don't know. It seems like
you get one free Atma
with Square Enix. With Square Enix's focus on making everything fair, I don't think that a stat difference would be it. I'm
just saying you'd have to spend the 75 materia to start it out. Like it just.
Right, yeah, okay, yeah, no, I see what you mean. That's what we know from interviews and rumors from out at Gamescom 2015. Again, we'll have links to this at our brand new website over at limitbreakradio.com in the show notes portion of this episode. Find them there, and while you're visiting our website over at limitbreakradio.com, leave a comment. We do now have comment sections on our episodes, and if you want, just like to let us know how we did, or you want to just leave us a passing comment, go for it.
Or chew when you're out.
Tell him to eat a dick.
What?
Eat a bag of dicks.
Yeah, if you want. I mean, that's if you want.
That would be salty.
A salty bag of dicks.
Yeah, well, dicks do tend to be salty. So
you would know.
Damn,
how do you know that?
Hey, you know what? Is my sexuality under question here? Am I under attack? I feel persecuted, damn it.
It's pretty defensive.
Keep it neutral. Keep it neutral.
Keep it neutral.
I'm offended. I'm offended.
You are offensive, yes. Congratulations.
So let's talk about player versus player. Joe Never, of course, of Joe Never Fails, joining us today to talk about player versus player. Infamous for the shirt and the saying, "Do you even PvP, bro?"
You mean famous?
And so we thought, who better to come in and talk about player versus player events and activities than Joe Never? So, Joe, why don't you start us off by telling us what is PvP for people who can't figure that out?
PvP is Picasso's very pizza. That's what it means.
Oh, I love pizza.
Yeah.
Oh, now I want pizza.
Hell yeah. Well, PvP is player versus player, as opposed to the rest of the game as you're playing the computer, PvE. PvP is player versus player. It's a very unique, it's a different, completely different aspect of the game. It's very unique, it's original, it's never the same. My favorite aspect of the game.
So, and now you're not alone, but you're kind of unique in that it's your favorite aspect of the game. A lot of the
Final Fantasy player base are Care Bears,
casuals,
and they can't handle the heat.
They don't
PvP.
like it. They don't like PvP. They say it's unbalanced, or that their class sucks, or that
because if you're losing, that's obviously
that's
I mean
that's totally the reason why. Right? Yeah. Because
what else could it possibly be?
Fucking controller is broken. So
it's a very sensitive subject. It's a very sensitive subject.
So for those that have maybe only queued for PvP events a couple of times, handful of times, they get their asses handed to them. Their death respawn time is at like 25 seconds. People are teabagging them. For those people. Why don't you help shed some light on what the point of PvP is? Because it's not just strictly, as we heard earlier, it's not going to be a 1v1 sort of thing. It's a team-based game, and you're playing against other players. But there's a whole point, depending on what kind of PvP event you queue up for.
Yes. For me personally, I've been involved in the release of 4 different stages of PvP, from the Wolves Den to Frontlines to Slaughter to now Seal Rock, which is fucking fantastic, I believe. For me personally, PvP, it took on a very competitive team building role for me in the game. I was talking about PvP for a very long time before it came out. I was on a Japanese server that was hyping up for PvE, but also framing for PvP when it came out, because we believed that Square Enix getting into this and really, really mainstream MMO market was going to create that very competitive, very competitive PvP arena. It was going to create something fucking fantastic. And
right.
That has not happened yet. But there's a different type of I play a different version of PvP than most people will ever play, and that is the very large disparity between somebody who's ready to fucking stomp on your head to somebody who is just going to walk in and say, "Hey, first time, guys. Hey, what are you doing here?"
Well, there does seem to be different attitudes towards people who will queue into PvP. There are the people who just want to barrel ahead. I'm going to kill everything that moves, and then there are the people who are trying to introduce strategy and move their team appropriately. Because it's not just about going in and beating the shit out of a group of other people. It's about going in there and successfully completing objectives as well, which add to the points for your team.
And then we have players like Kahlo.
No, hold on, just stop. Let me. There's a whole different class, all my own. Okay, and then you think you get hate mail. Okay, I don't even want to put this out there, but I'm gonna, for the sake of entertainment. And then you have the guy who just wants to get easy ESO tomes.
Oh yeah.
So he queues
the worst type.
So no, it gets bad. It gets bad.
Oh, no.
So he queues his ninja. He throws up stealth. He just walks around the whole time.
Oh my god.
Now occasionally if my adrenaline bar fills up and there's some poor sap walking by me, I'll stun him. I'll limit break him to death, and then I'll hide back up and walk around, but I don't do shit.
You are the worst.
Yeah,
that's actually not the worst. That's not the
Really?
worst. That's a helpful player, believe it or not.
There's somebody worse than me.
The cowboy, fucking Cowboys is the worst player. That's the guy who's in it on his own, running into a mob of the entire team to die over and over.
At least I'm not costing him anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
That's true.
I'm taking pride in that now.
That's literally the most detrimental thing that you can do in Seal Rock right now is die. So that's a whole nother version and very specific. But
well, why don't we talk about the evolution? Because I know you said obviously it's not PvP isn't where you would like it to be. I mean, obviously compared to some other MMOs, but it has gone leaps and bounds from what they first had with Wolves Den to what we now have with Seal Rock, which you're right is fucking fantastic. And I don't always walk around just doing jack all. I mean, I play sometimes. Sometimes.
And then when you start losing, you just revert back into stealth mode and AFK.
I don't AFK. I watch Netflix. I watch Nero's Netflix.
Boo! Boo! He doesn't even pay for his own Netflix.
What kind of
God.
We're friends, you and I.
What a mooch.
What? Yeah, seriously.
Hey, you watch it too.
You mooch isotones. You mooch Netflix.
Excuse me.
God damn.
I mooch off my sister's Netflix. Thank you very much.
Wait, hold on. So you're saying after you threw her under the bus on Final Encounter Cast, she still lets you use her Netflix?
Yeah, she was really mad. The word... the comment she hated the most was me calling her a desperate housewife.
Well,
Anyway.
PvP, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, so walk us through the evolution of the different events related to PvP.
Okay, so basically, like, for me, or like in general in the game?
Just kind of in general, starting with Wolves Den, because we've seen, with each iteration of PvP, they seem to make it bigger. They seem to, not always throw different concepts in there, but expound on some of the same concepts and refine them and make them better. Because, a lot of the game modes are kind of not that different from each other. So, it's only really in fine,
Subtly.
In fine points or in maps. So, walk us through how PvP has changed from the Wolves Den now to Seal Rock.
Okay, so first iteration of PvP in the video game is Wolves Den. Wolves Den is a 4v4 instance, which originally came out as a time sink. So, for example, you'd go in queue as one or queue as a team of 2, 3, or 4, go up against another team of 4, pitting everyone's abilities against each other, and basically you go in very, very close, very intimate, very up in your face. If you know what you're doing, you're going to usually win. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to be exploited and die. The time sink was the longer that you played, the more wolf marks you would gain to get gear. The gear now has a new stat on it, which introduced morale into the game. Outside of debt, outside of defense, strength, vitality, everything else that we had known in PvE, morale was introduced. And morale is still a motherfucking mystery. So what the hell it is, which is what it is. But morale, terrible. Yeah, and it's changed. But morale is a stat that increases the amount of damage dealt, the amount of heals done, and decreases the amount of damage received. The more morale you have, the better you are in the Wolves Den. That's literally the only place that you're better.
Only place, yeah. Front lines doesn't apply to.
Oh, it does actually work in Wolves Den, though.
Yeah, it works in Wolves Den.
Yeah, it does.
And actually,
it only works in the Wolves Den. Only works in non-synced Wolves Den.
And that only that's what morale did back before they changed it.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Correct.
Okay.
That was the yeah.
I like Wolves Den, though. I feel like that's the kind of PvP that you're used to from a lot of MMOs, is you have 4 people, or like even 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2. It's like 4 people, you queue up with your friends, and you go beat the shit out of some other people. Like, I like that. And my only complaint is that if you could guarantee, without having to, like, pick French at a specific time of day as your language, to guarantee that, like, if I wanted to face against 4 other people, like, say my static, we could take half of my static, a tank, a healer, and 2 DPS, and the other tank, healer, and 2 DPS, and guarantee that we can like go up against each other for fun. That's the kind of PvP that.
And that was really Correct. The problem with it, is that you could easily cheese the system, which a lot of people did, and a lot of people got even more upset about it. And
I think the problem is what Nick is saying is that there isn't an option to be like, I want, like, the only reason that you can cheese the system is because nobody does it. That's why you get guaranteed to put in with each other.
If there was different options, like the Duty Finder one where it's with everybody, or like an option for like unranked, or for like not as many wolf marks or something, where you can fight your friends or something like that.
Like if you could actually go, and you know what, that whole 1v1 thing, right? If they would let you, if there was a place at the actual Wolves Den where you can go to, where you can click on a little glowing thing and get transported into an instance to do 1v1, 2v2, whatever, with people you actually know, who cares if there's no rewards? People would use that.
Yeah.
People cheese it right now is because there is the challenge log every week, where if you get so many Wolves Den wins, then you get XP and all that, and wolf marks and stuff.
Right.
And so my Surin actually has a PvP Flames link shell where people will at certain times of the week win trade. Yep. And they will queue up together. One for
Blasphemy.
Yeah.
Blasphemy.
Yeah.
Yep. And so, but that's really the only way you can make those challenge logs now, because nobody's doing it.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So with
from being very alive in the beginning, where everybody who wanted a PvP would flood in, queues would pop almost instantly on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, like literally as soon as you were done, you'd pop back in and pop back in and pop back in. And the issues that we have in the current system did not exist because there was only one section of play.
Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate how deserted the whole thing is, and so with the next with the next iteration of PvP, we saw them open it up from 8 total participants to 72. So just going from one to the other.
A small increase, to be sure.
Small, total, just tiny little bit. So we got Frontline Secure. I think that's probably, even with Seal Rock, the event that the most people have done and are probably familiar with. So Frontline Secure was sort of like capture the point. There was a large
King of the Hill, right?
King of the Hill, and there was the nodes that would spawn in the center
to help give it a little bit more flavor, where getting to the nodes and killing them gave you bonus points.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And I would say that's the vast majority of people's context with Frontlines. You had a combined limit break bar. I mean, what else were unique features of Frontlines that we haven't seen repeated in Slaughter or Seal Rock?
Well, Frontlines introduced the objective-based battle. So you're not going in with a very small, intimate team of 4. You're now going in with 6 times the amount of people. And you're going in with an objective. It's not just go in and kill everybody else. You're going to go in and try to accomplish a task, which is kill this, hold this place. And it introduced strategy of a different level, a different dynamic of strategy into PvP. Additionally, it took away that elitist aspect where in terms of gear, where you could go in the Wolves Den and have I-90 Wolves Den gear and kill people with I-110 PvE gear. Now it's I-80 synced. So they leveled the playing field and introduced a lot more people to what PvP was in Final Fantasy XIV.
Fair enough.
Teamwork.
Yeah. Yes. And it, I would say that it actually turned a lot of people off from PvP, right? Like, in the end, a lot, most people ended up, having their very first encounter with PvP in Frontline Secure, and a lot of people had problems with it.
Correct.
And as a result, never went back for Slaughter.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I talk about a lot is that the person that has some type of interest or a very small amount of interest in what is this new version of gameplay, like what is PvP all about, what is this Slaughter, what is this, I'm going to go try it out. And they enter this arena full of people that are yelling at them, full of people that are barking demands. I have absolutely no clue. I'm confused. I'm scared. I'm frightened. Like, what do I do?
That's my experience with
correct. And it repels a lot of people, and specifically in this community, which is a very loving PvE based community. Somebody to come into that place, which is so far from home, so far from what they're used to, it turns away a lot of people outside of those very competitive, very determined, very team-oriented, very A-type personality individuals like the people that I play PvP with.
Yeah.
Well, one of the other problems with Slaughter, too, was by that point, a lot of people had already maxed out their PvP rank, had everything that they wanted, and when they came out with Slaughter, they didn't introduce more ranks, so really the only reason for doing it was to do it.
Okay, tell me the difference between Frontline Secure and Frontline Slaughter.
Okay, so the difference between Secure and Slaughter, which was retroactive, it was just Frontlines, then they added the 2 different types. Secure, you go in and it's objective based. Slaughter, you go in and the main objective, the main way to score points is by killing people.
I was gonna say, it's right there in the name.
Is the objective still there, though? Like, do you still have to hold the points and...
No.
It's literally just killing.
It's
correct. The
right in the name.
The main change is they remove those positions to hold and gain points with killing, and they added buffs. So, for example, in the beginning of the match, everyone will run into the large tower in the center of the Cardinal Flats, and everyone will fight
Hunger Games.
Yeah, it's really cool. Everyone groups up at the top, and there's one large node. Now, whoever kills and whoever destroys does the most damage to that node will receive a 2-minute haste buff for their entire alliance, which is entire 24 people. And that's a huge benefit. Like, it's an incredible benefit. It's not going to change the game. It's not going to win or make or break because it's one and many other things are implemented. But that's a huge thing. From there are going to be 3 nodes that spawn around the outside, which are going to increase the damage that you do. So there's another level of strategy. How quick can you get to that node? How much damage can you do? Are you going to be just doing damage, or are you going to be gimping other people by putting them to sleep and stunning them or whatever? Then how are you going to manage getting around to the outside? Very different levels of strategy. And like, it's very difficult to like learn this in one match. Like, you have to be dedicated. From there, there's one more large node that spawns in the middle, which is an HP node. It increases your maximum HP. And then from there, it's an all-out race to the finish. Whoever can score most points through kills wins the match.
There you go. I mean,
so there is a tiny bit more strategy involved in it than what Juxta described to us one time, which was everybody gathers up into the middle, and then you see everybody kind of stepping forward, then going back and stepping forward, and the first person to go too far and just get nuked to shit just starts out the all-out slaughter.
Correct. Like, this is like, honestly, the thing that I like beat myself up over most is like not putting the time and effort into finding a way to do the PvP videos with the subtle nuances of how intricate the system can be. Because like, the biggest difference between Frontline's Secure and Frontline Slaughter was that the major DPS class that shined in Secure was melee DPS, and that completely switched when Slaughter was introduced, and that it showcased the opposite aspect of the game, where it went from melee to ranged, and now black mages are OP. Now summoners are OP, doing incredible amounts of damage and getting all of the kills in the world. Like, it was a huge change in the game from somebody like me, specifically like a Dragoon. I would go in and just die and die and die. My first Slaughter match was ridiculous. I thought I sucked. I was like, what the hell happened? Like, why are they introducing this game where I suck? Like, I can't do this.
You were a Dragoon. I mean,
shots fired.
Yeah.
Bang bang.
It's all good. I switched to black mage, and I like, my best ever match was 18-1.
Yeah,
so, it was very fun.
So with the introduction of Seal Rock, they changed things up again quite a bit. Yes. And introduce some new concepts into Seal Rock. Everyone seems to be queuing for it. A lot of people seem to be having more fun with Seal Rock than they did with the Cartano maps. So, Joe, what kind of indication do you have in terms of like the participation in Seal Rock? Do you feel like Seal Rock is going to be in the long term more healthy for the game, or do you think that in another 2 months, when we don't see another PvP update, that that it'll be just as vacant as Secure and Slaughter?
For me personally, I don't know if this is confirmed or not, but there's been lots of talk about it. Are we not getting 8v8v8 PvP anytime soon?
I've heard anything.
I've heard no mention of it.
No, I think the only time you get that is
Surrey
when
managed to have a few of it happen, and it's like really fun and cool to watch.
Yeah. It's true. When it does happen in...
pardon me. 8v8 Wolves Den is what I heard.
8v8 Wolves Den. No, I haven't heard anything about that, but when it does happen in like a map like Frontlines, it is fun, but it also does feel like that map is way too big for that,
especially for Secure or Slaughter.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're saying this now after 24-man Secure and Slaughter. You know what I mean? Like, that was ridiculous.
Right, it's the worst.
For me, like, what I really enjoy is that they listened to a lot of what the community was saying about the current system of PvP in Final Fantasy. So, like, for example, if they had done a direct user poll of the people that were playing lots of PvP in Final Fantasy with the people that were like very involved in it, like for people like me, and they asked what were the issues with the current system of PvP. They listened to that. The arena was too big. There was not enough fighting. I don't want to necessarily be objective based. Like, how can we change this up? It's different. For me, like, to have an RNG based system of PvP, it's different. It's very different. Did they get it right? I don't think so. But did they get it better? Yes. And additionally, they created a system that is now not just based for PvP. Like, there are a lot of people queuing for PvP right now that are looking to get their esoterics through
that
PvP.
normally wouldn't.
Yeah, right.
And
Yeah.
it's like forcing them to be exposed to PvP. So now for the people that are spending those 15 minutes on 15 minutes on 15 minutes, like I really can't see them not wanting to get involved and not wanting to get better and not wanting to be a part of a team that could score double the points or score get tripled the wolf marks by just doing a little bit of teamwork or by listening to somebody that knew what the hell was going on.
Yeah, I can speak to that. I mean, obviously, my main goal when going into PvP is glamour and to get ESO tomes. But if I could win more, I absolutely would. And the times that I can be bothered to actually participate, I do have fun. I think I'd be better as a caster than a melee a lot of the time. But one of the big things that I saw, having participated in quite a few front lines for the exact same reasons in Secure, was every Secure match was exactly the same.
Yeah.
And you could say, going into Steel Rock 2, well, it's still the same, in theory.
Sort of, but the way that those nodes
exactly.
pop...
You have to react to that.
Exactly. You're not just standing around in one spot. Okay, you defend A, you defend C, and now you guys roam.
Right. Yeah, no, totally. And with the kind of dynamic nature of where the nodes end up popping, the really, really cool thing is that, like, some matches, like, it's just you're gonna get fucked by RNG. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Like
really, really badly.
And that's the thing. That's actually a good thing because now like players have like a different place to direct all their rage instead of, oh, my team was just terrible, I had no chance to win.
Right.
Now it's, oh, RNG fucked us. Well, we'll do better next time because next time we won't have bad
and it
RNG.
also gives people a little bit more fair of a chance if you do have a bad team, but then you get lucky with the RNG.
Yeah, it's happened both ways for me.
I mean, well, and not only that, but I mean, it can really turn the tide of a match.
Oh, hell yeah. I've been up 500 before with like the other ones under 100, and then suddenly they get like all these A's and S's and we get jack shit.
Yep. Just because, two nodes spawn in your general area that you're able to defend in the first 5 minutes does not mean that you're going to hold down that whole match.
Yep.
Nope. Absolutely not. That is not guaranteed. And I like that. I like that aspect of it.
Quick question aside, because I wanted to, I really wanted to answer this question and I don't want to forget it. How close are you, Joe, to the Hand of Mercy?
I am not close
at all.
Is Hand of Mercy kills?
Yeah, that's like 5,000 PvP kills.
Pardon me. I'm steadily progressing.
Nice.
Steadily progressing. I'm averaging, the last time I did my own stats, like I'm averaging like 6 or 7 kills per match, which is like really fucking solid.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Do you have a number? I don't know if you're sitting in game or not.
I actually have. I'm not sitting in game right now. But,
all right.
I've gotten like I think it's the first 2 items or first 3 items. I'm not sure.
All right.
Wow.
Cool.
Now that only counts if you get the killing blow,
yes,
right?
You have to
what if you go in as healer because nobody wants to play healers in PvP because everyone kills you
then
first?
You are not
so if you're a healer, you're never going to get that, right?
No.
No, it's going to be very difficult. And
don't be healer.
They've removed the beautiful, the OP fluid aura from the top shelf in the center tower, which is my favorite move in the entire game. But the amount of height, like you can't die from falling off anymore in Seal Rock. But healers are not going to be getting major kills like they used to. Holy spam is very rare. You're gonna
maybe that's something that we'll see change because come on, like 5,000 killing blows.
Yeah,
that's
a lot.
Deep. Like that's really steep.
It really is.
And I think that if you contribute damage to someone, that you should get credit for that kill.
At least if it's like a certain amount of damage or something.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
It is frustrating. Like I have a video on my YouTube for my second match ever on Seal Rock, and I went 12-3. And if you watch the full progression of that video, my first life was very short-lived. My second life, I was 10-0 on that life. My last life, I killed 1 person. But there were, from the amount of people that I did damage to, that did like maybe 60 to 80% of their HP, it was huge. Like I should have had like 17, 18 kills in that match. But the way that the system is based is the literally last blow. It could be a dot tick. It could be anything.
Yeah,
that fucking summoner casting Death Flare.
Straight up.
Fucking Death Flare. Oh my god.
Yeah, summoners are kill jacking the shit out of this new system. Dude,
I love it.
And that's the other notable thing is that Seal Rock is capped at 60, front lines it's capped at 50.
Yep.
So you'll have access to abilities in Seal Rock that you wouldn't in front lines. So that's notable. And then the other thing that I wanted to touch on real quick is and sometimes this is a bit of an overlooked aspect by more casual PvP players, but Joe, I'm sure that you can speak to how clutch these are, is your PvP exclusive abilities.
Yes.
All right, real quick, before we get into those PvP abilities, we have Outkiss.
Don't do that.
What? No?
Don't do that. How long have you been doing this? How long have you been doing? I just asked a new question, and went to just changed the subject. You wait until the subject is done, not before I just ask it.
If only he had like a drop that he could play
me?
to alert us that there is a caller.
Are you shitting me?
I've been trying to get in this caller for a while now.
You're sitting in the room. You have no reason that you can't jump in edgewise. Oh my God!
I was gonna say, what usually stops you? Usually nothing stops you.
Use a
You're
hand
just like,
signal.
hey guys,
use a hand
I'm gonna
signal.
be a dick now.
Send a Skype message. Do something. Jesus Christ! We'll take the caller after Joe gets to respond to my point. So, which I don't even remember what the fuck that was. Great job, Juxter.
Abilities.
PvP specific abilities.
Thank you.
This is a system that's been in place since Wolves Den, and now it adds a little bit of an extra dynamic in the game where every class has their own specific abilities. Like I'll do Dragoon abilities, for example. There's an ability where you can throw your weapon, which is going to apply a 20% or a buffed. Now these abilities can be buffed too. And a buffed ability, 20% or 40%, and then there's like a third stance which can increase the detrimental status length. Every class has their own specific abilities. Healer gets extra heals. Healer gets an insta raise. Like these are all things that are not going to like make or break and make one class extremely OP, but they're going to be very helpful in specific instances.
Super fun too.
Knockbacks, stuns, binds. These are
Ninja
really
has a gap closure that I love using.
Yes, very very cool. And
Summoner has an ability which reduces your range, an opposing person's range, because that's
very unique.
That's unique.
And the cool
not entirely useful.
As you progress from 0 to 40 or 0 to 45 and now from 0 to 50, every 4 levels you get the chance to level up one of those abilities. And then the way that you play PvP is based off of how you're going to allocate those stats into your build.
Oh, so everyone's not the same.
Correct.
And what I really like about them too is as you level them up, it's not just like, all right, at level 1 it does this, 2 it does this, 3 it does this. Like they'll have 2 or 3 different levels, but you get to choose which of those perks you want in whatever order you want.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
It's just very cool. Like it's all based on how you play the character. Like for me, I like to have a white mage leveled. I haven't finished mine yet. I like to have a white mage leveled. I like to have a black mage. I like to have a dragoon for PvP. And the way that I play that class is all based off of how I play. So, for example, on white mage, there's an ability that is called mana draw, which gives you an extra 20% of your or 25% of your MP instantly. There's another one that increases or decreases the recast time, increases from 25% to 50%, and then something else. But I don't need only those other 2. I just need the extra MP, so I use the third stat. I use the extra. I don't want it to go from 25% to 50%, and then I will not use the extra 8 points that I need to buff the other 2. I just need that 1.
Yep.
Yeah,
I agree too. There's some of the stuff that I look at, I'm like, that's just so useless. I'd rather get something different.
Exactly.
But then there are some abilities everyone has, though, right? That like get rid of status effects and that kind of stuff, right?
Purify. That's a pretty common one. Yeah, everyone has purify.
Everyone has purify.
Yeah. So
some people have recuperate. Some people don't. Like warrior, for example, has tanks have a really cool ability, which is that's a heavy swing or something like that. It increases damage dealt on a target by 25%. Now, all of those things in the individual are awesome, but when you can incorporate that next level of competitivity or a part of competition, if you can incorporate the next level, like if you're on TeamSpeak with somebody else who's playing and you have a warrior and a dragoon and a bard, I can put up disembowel and they can put up weapon throw or heavy swing, whatever it is, and that bard can drop damage on it, like you're going to die. And that separates the people that are just coming in on that very surface level to somebody who's a veteran, as somebody who's ready to stomp on your head.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, though, if you're a basic level, which is the best PvP to start on, or are they all horrible and I'm going to be completely overwhelmed no matter which one I pick?
The tough thing about PvP right now is that whenever the new version comes out, that is the only version you can play outside of the new version of roulette, because now roulette will overflow into secure and into slaughter.
Very rarely, though. I mean, I have not experienced it.
I've seen it happen with
I have.
It's happened a lot. I play a lot of PvP. It happens more often than you think. But
speaking to Joe's experience, though, I mean, I haven't got to coordinate that well with anyone in FF specifically. But when me and Jux's beneficiary played World of Warcraft, and we'd do 2v2 between my Shadow Priest and her Hunter, we could keep something like silence and like spell locked for up to 11 seconds between the two of us.
Yeah, and it's one of those things like 1v1. I have one 1v1 video that I had. I 1v1'd another Dragoon, which is so sick. But like when you use your abilities and how you use your abilities is going to make the difference. So again, for the person who's just coming in and fooling around to somebody who's spent the time and the effort into getting good at it, it's a vast difference. Like I got brought down to 12% HP while that guy had 75% HP, and because I knew how to drop my stuns correctly, I beat him. Like I came back from almost death, and I just
all I can do is go into Steel Rock and just hope I can figure out how to play at this
Pretty
point.
much. I mean, you'll catch on pretty easily. Joe, for anyone wanting to check out those videos, though, they should just search like Mosh Pit for 2 Joe's Romantic Encounters.
Yes, that's exactly. It's uncanny how you have my website. Hold on one sec. I can drop a link up in here.
That was a jump joke, guys.
There you go. Well, or your YouTube account. I'm assuming. Just search Joe Never Fails on YouTube.
Search it's Joe Fails 09.
There you go.
There's also.
I'm sure our Kooky Bot will drop a link in there too.
Yeah, Kookie's usually pretty good about that. All right, now that we're done talking about PvP abilities,
wait, do you want to go into something else?
I understand we have a caller on the line.
Are you sure you don't want to go into something else first?
No,
Juxta, don't be a dick now.
Okay, I'm a dick ninja.
So
we have Outcast Dices Fairy on the line.
Welcome to Limit Break Radio, Outcast. How you doing?
Hey, guys, what's up?
Thanks for calling the show. What kind of questions do you have about PvP?
It's not so much questions. I actually work in the gaming industry, and what's funny is I love PvP. Like, it's so I love it.
I love you.
People.
I love
so
you.
Good.
A budding bromance.
Beginning
this
of
is going so well.
Fantastic relationship.
So it's just with a Final Fantasy game like PvP, even in 11, it never got like the time of day. I felt like the different modes were so half-assed.
Yeah,
totally agree. Yeah, 11's PvP was
Ballista was cute. Dig up the rocks, throw them in the rooks.
It leaves a lot to
cute.
It left a lot to be desired. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think 14 is the same way. Like I think the main focus of the game is definitely PvE and the storyline, which Final Fantasy game totally should be that way. But I would love to see just some more focus and maybe some more resources put onto PvP. And just from a development standpoint, I don't want to be on that PvP team. Like testing and balancing just sounds like a friggin' nightmare. Like especially like someone brought up capture the flag earlier.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, there's 3 teams. Now what? So if there's one flag in the middle, everybody's going to go for it. When one team picks it up, you're fighting off 2 teams.
Well, and you know what? While the whole grand company dynamic is fun, and on certain levels, someone said that it helps promote the world building, that is unfortunately one of the downfalls of only letting people queue for their grand company. I mean, one of the other problems you see too is, adders get in under a minute, whereas Maelstrom and Flames have to wait 45. That's a problem.
Yeah, that definitely...
Depending on data server, depending
on data server. And it seems to be a bit of a structural problem that Square Enix hasn't found a good way of addressing. But let me go ahead and actually pose this question to you, Outcast. Is since you're a game developer and you would actually have a good idea of what would be required system side to properly balance events like this, what kind of considerations is Square Enix making or under when trying to balance PvP versus PvE? Because they did say that was a large consideration and why they couldn't do 1v1 matches.
So with PvP, it's a whole different thing. Like it requires iteration time, right? So it's people sitting in a circle and just being like, hey, what about this? Hey, what about this? What about this? And sometimes you can be like, well, this will be an issue. Like, that'll be unbalanced. You kind of just off the top of your head,
just right away.
You may or may not work based on other games, right? but then there's sometimes it's just like, hey, let's just try this, but then you have to iterate on it. You have to find out if it's going to suck or not, or if it's going to be fun, or if it's going to be imbalanced. PvE, they just hop in the freaking match and they're just like, hey, if I eat this AoE, are we going to wipe? We are? Cool, it's hard enough. Awesome. Like, testing for PvE, like, iteration time is so much lower. And then you also throw in the fact that player skill. Like, player skill is totally different for PvP compared to PvE player skill.
Really, when you have when you're trying to test for PvP balance, you have to have like full teams for each side to actually be able to see if something is too good or not.
In PvE, you know how the computer is going to react because you programmed it, but in PvP, there's just so many different variables that you couldn't possibly account for.
Exactly, and and they run into that with shooters and stuff like that, which is why they always have tons of QA testers for stuff like Call of Duty to just basically all they do is play matches all day. It's just like, play matches, send us
I would
some
love
bugs.
to be on that development team, by the way. I would play all day. I get paid for it. I would love to.
Well, back when I played WoW too, one of the big things, like when Blizzard talks about their PvP development too, is there's one of two ways to go about it, and that is that everything, all the tools that you have in PvE, you can use in PvP, but then it's twice as long to balance them. And they could just go, well, when you go into PvP, then it changes your moves. They're the same moves, but they have a whole different set of rules in PvP, but it's still just as much development time because now every move has to do two different things in two different instances.
Right, and balancing that stuff usually isn't that big of a deal. It's literally just editing a file somewhere. Like, it's not hard to change those values, but the balancing part takes iteration time. It takes testing. It takes, like, you need people who are stupid good. You need people who are stupid bad. Like, and you have to find that.
Because participants run the gamut. You're going to get...
So if they just hire Joe and Juxta, they'll be fine then.
Boom! Yes and no.
We're both good.
This is funny. I was talking... we were talking about this with my boss the other day. Like, when we play test, we at the studio I work at, we're working on a bunch of different shooters right now. And
is one of them Call of Duty 6?
No.
Oh.
You're actually at 9 now.
Wink, wink. I saw him wink, guy. He winked. No. But we play test a couple times a week with publishers and stuff like that, and they don't like it when I play. Some of people don't like it when I play. They call me. I get called a tryhard all the time. I'm just like, guys, I've played Counter-Strike since I was like 12, so I don't know what you want me to do. I can't. I'm not. The thing is, I'm not trying. So it's just they want you to get bad.
Get bad. They want me to get bad. They're like, dial it down. And then occasionally I do have to, they'll be like, oh, this other publisher, that bigwig, is coming in to play with us, so don't kill him too much.
Oh, that is amazing. That actually happens. That's so cool.
That's fantastic.
That was actually a thing. It was just like, be nice. It just kept getting said over and over. And I was like, okay, I'll just sit here. I literally just found that guy and ignored him the whole match. I would see him and I'd just be like, you could be dead right now. I'm just going to walk away, though.
That's amazing.
That fourth round Brad Pitt snatch moment.
Well, and then we were talking. We had a Mario Kart tournament yesterday, and we were talking about this, and our CEO was like, yeah, I actually appreciate that you come in and play every once in a while, because we do need to see that, like, how the balance fares when people actually know what they're doing.
Yeah, well, that is important, because there is a large, significant player base out there like Joe who's dedicated to maximizing everything that they can do in an event like PvP, and you have to make sure that it is balanced for to properly reward those players. You don't want to develop, you don't want to go through the time to develop a system and then have an otherwise good player or great player of your PvE suddenly get into PvP and suck all kinds of hell. They shouldn't automatically suck going into PvP, but they shouldn't also automatically be gods by virtue of their gear. And so that takes very specific balancing, and again, the idea of rewarding skill is something that seems to be front and center in PvP. That's not necessarily front and center in PvE.
Now,
I'm sitting here nodding like an idiot, like you can see me.
Sorry, we do the same thing.
Yeah, we do.
We raise our hands sometimes.
For me, like from somebody who loves the PvP, like it's tough because like I understand there's like a queuing algorithm and there's a development algorithm and all these other things, but like for me, I don't understand why it has to be such a complicated problem. Like I really do not understand why we cannot just create, like, number one, we've been boxed into a lore-based queuing system.
Yeah.
Why not unbox it? We've been set up in a position where there's a lot of highly skilled players and a lot of people that just want to come in for esoterics. Keep it, split it, put a ranking system. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there are some very simple solutions to all of this, but because of the dynamic of the game that we play, because it's PvE based, there's some things that we're just never going to see implemented at the speed that we want them. Now,
exactly. I can almost guarantee you that's exactly what it is, that they spend most of their resources on PvE.
Correct.
Because that's where, most of their eggs are, honestly.
Yeah. But like for people like me, like I firmly believe that a lot of my stream, like, it's dedicated to raising PvP awareness in this game, and like I really think that if they want to be based in that, like, let's see where the business plan is from a development standpoint as a business, where can we where can we stay in the black? Why would you not exploit the super highly competitive World of Warcraft, like, competitive market?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there's people out there that make money doing that.
Right.
Exactly. Like the advertising money, like the competition money, tickets, like venue, like, why would that not be something so fucking exciting that people oh my God.
Well, and this is really interesting. This was one of the quotes from one of the articles that we actually didn't directly reference when we were talking about news from out of Gamescom. But one of the things that they had said was that they view Savage Coil as competitive, as their main competitive arc, and I mean, they kind of drew
less than 1%.
They kind of drew a line to esports in the way that people have to practice for
the chat saying the stream went down.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh, that's interesting. Well, we're still live. We still have the show, but we're fine. We still, the recording will be unaffected even if there is something going on with the stream. So
it's for me, like, when you say something like that as that being the most competitive, it's like, okay, we're going to have a competitive triathlon or a competitive boxing match. They're both sport, yes, but it's a very different audience who's going to watch one and the other.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I like that you said triathlon, because that's exactly what, like, when they say PvE is a competition, that's what the competition is. It's a race.
Exactly.
Who can get this done first?
Yeah, but I feel like that's really kind of poor planning on their part, because once the race is done, it's done. Versus like PvP, like, if you build that up, that's like an ongoing tournament event type of thing.
Like,
I agree.
You're only going to watch the Olympics once every 4 years. You're not going to watch triathlons every day for the rest of your life. Like, you might want to get involved in, like, I watch UFC once a week. You know what I mean? Like, that's something that's very, very impressive to me.
Yeah, and in terms of esports too, I mean, when you look at the way that world firsts work, this is weeks and weeks and sometimes months worth of competition. You can't replicate that in a tournament form. You can't just bring in all these raid teams like, all right, here's a new raid, go. You have the rest of the night. Like, it doesn't work the same way.
If you're going to do it that way, like, if you're really going to if somebody's going to stand behind that statement, then invite the top FCs, invite the top raid statics, and create a fucking 100% unique instance that only they can play. And
now that would be cool, and that would be something completely new as well.
Yeah,
like a reality TV show out of it. You know what I mean? Like,
well, like, I think a tournament ranking designation in the Duty Finder would be something that's very. I mean, like, that's all that it would be needed to get that done. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there are other systems that you have to put into place for that to really fully have full functionality and be properly rewarding. But I think that would be a pretty good solution into splitting, because there are people who are just going to run it for isotomes, and then once it's not the highest output for isotomes, they're going to move on to doing something else.
There has to be other reasons to do it, especially when you've capped out your rank as well.
Yeah,
bring out new gear, and in fact, and not just gear either. I mean, obviously through achievements now you can get some titles or mounts or whatnot. But you know what? as much as I don't want to say this, I know that I'm never going to be able to get it. Bring out more exclusivity. More mounts. Like for example, in WoW, they actually have PvP seasons, and when you score like in the top percentile or whatever, you get mounts or titles that nobody's ever going to get again.
Yeah, digital exclusivity. This is an idea that I've been kind of looking at it in an academic way, but digital exclusivity is a really interesting thing that's starting to come around, where you'll have artists who in days past they would record like an EP, and they'd get a very small pressing of it, 1,000 on vinyl, and they'd put that out, and only super dedicated fans would be able to get it and have that experience. And like the less dedicated fans, it wouldn't it'd be whatever. It's not a big deal. I don't need to experience everything. It's fine. But digital exclusivity, we find that because an MP3 is so easy to copy.
Let's just put U2 on everybody's iPod.
Digital media is so easy to copy that anytime you put anything digitally, it multiplies.
You're offering
everywhere.
It to the world at that point.
But if you have either a high skill cap that is required to be able to get something, or if you only make it available for a limited window of time, much like some of the FF13 exclusive crossover stuff,
Flappy Bird.
No, the seasonal events, stuff like that. I mean, they've gone back and like you can get some of the old items, but digital exclusivity is something that Square Enix has not even bothered to try.
Even with collector's editions now, you can just digitally upgrade whenever you want to.
Yeah, and that's, I think that's a big part of why people play MMOs, is so that they can have something that only 9 other fucking people have, and that's not just for 3 months. You know what I mean? Like or 3 weeks, as in the case of FF14. Outcast, thank you so much for the call, man. It was
Hell yeah, man.
It was
fantastic questions, dude.
Yeah, it was so interesting to hear your perspective as a game developer. And just a word of caution: I heard this past week that a Nintendo employee got fired for appearing on a podcast. So don't tell your bosses that. Don't tell
you didn't name drop anything.
Nobody at my studio plays this game, just me.
Don't name drop to your bosses that you appeared on a podcast this week.
Everybody at my studio plays real games.
Yeah, just hedge that bet a little bit.
We're kind of a big deal.
Just real quick, I'm reluctant to say this because 95% of the time I agree with what Yoshi releases as far as development time and stuff like that. But dueling, he's full of shit. That shit would be so easy to do.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
There you go.
And,
she's calling you out, Yoshi.
Straight from a developer. That's bullshit. Bullshit. Anyway, Outcast, thank you so much, and we hope that you'll call back again.
Mm-hmm. Sure thing.
All right, so if you'd like to call Limit Break Radio, send a Skype message over to Limit Break Radio, or give us a call, 810-515-8715, if you would like to talk about PvP. Now, we're about an hour and a half through this show. We'll probably end up taking another couple of calls before we end up wrapping up here. But to sort of put an end cap on PvP, because I'd say that throughout this discussion, we've expressed that PvP in FF14 is pretty good. It's not as laughable and jokey as it was in FF11, but
it was a novelty in 11.
The thing is, it was horrible in 11, but you could still
you had fun with it. Yes, it was fun to do with your friends, but it was still a joke.
Yeah, it was totally a joke, but it's but it also, we've also expressed that it also leaves a lot to be desired out of the event. So who, in your opinion, Joe, has and really to the entire room, to the entire studio, who has done PvP well in the MMO arena?
Well, as much as obviously I hate giving credit to them, I did spend a lot of time with World of Warcraft, and what they did with PvP, even though I might not have been the best at it, I've always thought it was an entirely different side of the game. It got just as much development time sometimes, I feel, as what PvE did, and I mean, I had a lot of fun doing it. So
well,
I would say
PvP wasn't
WoW.
instanced, right?
No, that's not. That's not. That's not true. I didn't really, mention the whole world PvP. You could obviously just PvP out in the world on certain servers, but no, yeah, they had instance PvP too. They had, you could duel anywhere. They had 1v1 dueling. They also had 2v2, 3v3, and 5v5, and they had actual seasons and like competitive tournament play for those. So yeah, all three of those were supported in a variety of different arenas, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I could see something like that, like a 4v4 Wolves Den tournament, where every so often for like a week or so, when you queue for Wolves Den, you get tournament points, kind of like Triple Triumph.
Yeah, and then they also had like actual battlefields too, like capture the flags. They had control the zones. They had secure like objective based ones. They had their like League of Legends style one. Yeah, they had like WoW has a shit ton of different stuff, and it all stays relevant.
Do they have different maps too?
Yes, all maps stay relevant.
Wow.
Well, each map has like one objective, so the one map is always going to be capture the flag.
Right. But people play like they go through all of them. It's not like no one does play capture the flag anymore.
And they have open world dueling.
Exactly. Yeah. They have everything, and it all stays relevant. The only time that I've ever seen a map taken off was if someone found some type of exploitable like glitch or something within an arena map that gave them an unfair advantage. Then they lock it out.
Sure, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I sort of feel like the only reason that FF14 is a little bit hesitant to bring in 1v1 or open world PvP is because it's another feature that would just be hijacked straight from WoW, and they've already got they've been able to mostly avoid the label of strict WoW clone.
But see, here's my thing. Like, I hate that term WoW clone because they've come up with so many, developments for the MMO genre that should be staple that it's not really fair to be like, oh, it's a WoW clone. I mean, you invent the wheel, that's something that everybody should be fucking using now.
Now we have wheel clones all over the place.
So, like, open world PvP, no, that doesn't make sense because, grand companies, we're not all enemies and shit like that. But it makes sense that, if you're in a raid and someone rubs you the wrong way, you should be able to be like, you know what, put up or shut up.
I mean, all fantastic stuff. This is like, I love this so much. I get so excited because like this is the type of stuff that PvP needs in the game. I think the whole reason why they're not focusing on it is because of the people that sub to this game and pay for it. There are not enough people that care.
It will breed a toxic environment.
Yeah, and I mean, to the point of WoW, like, is that such a bad thing that we get more things like WoW in Final Fantasy? Is that a bad thing? Like,
no, I don't think so.
You know what I mean? Like, who fucking cares whether it was from WoW? Like, I want to be able to play stuff like that in the game that I love.
I only mention that.
Oh, yeah, no, I know.
Because FF14 1.0, every single decision in that game seemed to be, we don't want to be a WoW clone. Like, that seemed to motivate so much of the thinking of the design of that game. And now, admittedly, with The Realm Reborn, a lot of that has been reworked, and a lot of that thinking has been reversed. Great. And a lot of that I credit to Yoshi P. But I still feel like there's this sentiment going around like that's a thing that WoW has. So let's try to find a way to kind of make it a little bit throw a twist on it.
I think they can take tools from WoW so long as they don't start operating like WoW or having the same like game plan as what WoW does.
Agreed, Hundo P. Mm-hmm. The main thing for Joe, like the biggest thing that I would want to see, whatever it is, whatever they do, is for Square Enix to stop taking that position of I think some people aren't going to like it. You know what I mean?
No, totally.
Just dive in and commit to it. Which if you're going to be doing it, just do it right.
Which again, going back to that quote that Yoshi P dropped earlier, that some of the shit that we're going to try is going to fail. I feel like now that they've established with the 2.0 in 3.0, they do have that opportunity. We've been saying that all the way since Salted Earth, that they have the opportunity to change things up, and it's going to be a gigantic missed opportunity if they let that pass them by. And according to the comments from Yoshi P, they're not going to do that, which is great. I think that's fantastic. Good for them. It's the right design choice for this game, and in the end, it's gonna end up serving them well. But let's just hope that that's not a bunch of empty rhetoric, because we hear that a lot from game companies. Oh, we got a lot of stuff up our sleeve. We swear we've got a lot of stuff up our sleeve, and I'm sorry. sorry if I'm a tad bit cynical about it at this point, because I too often there's shit that gets promised that never ends up panning out.
Nero's little heart been broken one too many times.
It's too hard to trust.
Oh, jeez.
Nika, I know that you actually interviewed a friend in regard to Elder Scrolls Online,
and actually
for today's discussion.
This is actually really serendipitous because Joe, you have started playing Elder Scrolls this weekend?
Yesterday.
Nice. Okay, so Nika spent some time with an Elder Scrolls Online player. Tell us, what did they have to say about PvP and how ESO might do it differently or do it better?
Now, Elder Scrolls is very different than 14 simply because it's on a mega server. That means everyone's on the same server with just a billion instances to choose from.
Right.
But you can switch instances at any time that you want. But they could take from this in 14. I'm not sure if they'd like to do this, where they set... The entirety of the world is generally PvE, but a few select zones are anything PvP goes in the entire zone.
Yeah, which is something WoW does too.
Yeah, those zones are all the Cyrodiil zones, and I'm pretty sure that they all take place on the Cyrodiil continent. That's
something like that.
Yeah.
But the cool thing that she was telling me about it is that even though they're PvP zones, there are also PvE content in those zones. So it's kind of like, there's a dungeon, an open world dungeon, you're racing to the final boss, but there's another team also racing to that boss, and you PvP each other along the way to try to be the first person to get to that boss at the end. Which I thought that was kind of a neat, kind of immersion, sort of. That, you're not the only, even though your character's the main character, you're not the only one who wants to kill this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So you beat each other up to get that. And she kind of gave me the example of, even fetch quests. There are fetch quests inside of these PvP zones. And she's like, I kind of like the idea of, finding someone's missing hatchet, but I have to do it while avoiding everyone who's trying to PvP me.
Yeah, that sounds cool at first until you just want to collect your fucking bear carcasses, but there's this high-level character who has nothing better to do except camp your fucking corpse for 5 hours at a fucking time.
That sounds hilarious.
It really depends. That's why it's only the specific zones and the specific quests.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not for you, you can totally avoid that. It's not like you're on a PvP server where anywhere people can just knock you down.
True.
And the biggest part of it, and it comes down to incentive, and we're talking about nobody wants to do PvP on our game, but they have it so that the gear and the abilities that you get, kind of like merit points in 11, that you get from PvPing in ESO, stay forever. You can get a trait from PvP points and use it in PvE. Oh. And that way people have more variability too, based on which traits you put into your character.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting, because it sounds like they've inserted a real incentive for people even who
to do both.
Who mostly only participate in PvE events, but would be they'd get something that would reward them for their for the
someone
PvE
like you who doesn't
events
care
out of
about
PvP.
glamour, for example, would still have a reason to do it.
Right.
And
exactly.
apparently even the gear that you get from it, not only can you get gear from the world bosses that you kill in those zones, but there's also gear from points from defeating other players. And that gear is not better than other gear, but it's horizontal progression.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, this gear stat-wise may be the same as that, but it enhances this or the other thing. And so that way, even when we talk about this game is so linear, but having more horizontal progression is kind of something we want. So that way, if you can get a piece of gear out of PvP that's just as good as another piece, but just a few things different that you can take out of PvP and use in PvE, it's more incentive, I feel like.
As long as we're talking about gear and incentives and stuff like that, I sort of feel like FF14 removed a lot of the incentive for repeated PvP queuing or repeated PvP interaction.
Once you have your glamour and your ranks, there's no reason to unless you want more ESO.
by removing the rank requirement from the lower levels of the PvP gear. A lot of people, just want to do that stuff for glamour. And like I had said on a previous episode, I probably would have done a lot of PvP grinding, a lot of rank grinding to be able to equip those or to be able to glamour those. And they just gave them to you. They just outright gave them to you, which I think murders the incentive to
Now, had the newer gear been as cool as the old one, obviously you'd want to get caught up for that.
Or cooler,
but it's not.
That is not
really
the case.
bad.
Yeah. Joe, how do you feel about them removing the rank requirement from the older PvP gear?
It's the same type of thing that I feel about the Zeta weapons today. Like, it's that big feeling of like, why the hell did I invest those hours in it if I had known it was going to be easier later on? Like, I pride myself on being able to say, like, when this content came out, I was server first Snake Leash, or I was server first Lion Leash gear. You know what I mean? Whatever it was, just so I could see it. Like, people saw me, and those feelings of like, yo, I did this. I put the time in. Yo, where the hell did you get that gear? I got it in PvP. You know what I mean? Like, all that type of thing. If now for people to just come in and get it, it's frustrating to me. Like, even to know like we're going to get a little bit of an advantage in the Zeta weapon, that's great. You know what I mean? I love that because people spent millions of gil and countless hours investing in something that they loved. Now it's accessible to someone who just wants it. Right. You know what I mean? And is not willing to go through what I went through.
In terms of the PvP gear, though, they still have to get the wolf marks in order to buy it, right? And that doesn't mean they can only just, jump into PvP one time and get all the gear.
That doesn't take long to do.
The difference is you could only get it at level 30. And the time that it took to get from level 1 to level 30 was huge. You had to invest time. Like, you really had to get committed to it. Now, like, for me, in a bit of an alternate point, like one of the coolest things about PvP, and especially in the progression of gear right now, the base level I-45 available I-180 PvP ring is crit det, and that's BIS. I'm over accuracy cap for Dragoon. I'm actually using a PvP ring on my build for my Dragoon right now.
Interesting.
Which is like, there is gear because it's 180 and it's available right now. There is PvP gear that will be better than your current law gear, and it will be better than some of the esoterics gear,
depending on the stat allocations of them.
Correct. If it's AC and skill speed for me right now, I'm going to replace that with crit and det all day, same our level. Good point. Good point. That's one of the things, like, that's the difference in the nuance of somebody who's just going to come in on the surface level, or like really get involved and put their mind to like, how can I really take advantage of this? And there's more gear. Like, I just got all my 190 stuff, but in the meantime, like, I could have switched out a lot of the left side, some of the left side gear. I don't want to get crazy about it. Some of the left side gear with PvP gear, if I had done it. I got set back when it first came out because I switched from Storm back to from Flames back to Storm because I wanted to win.
Ooh, changed adders.
Anyway, adders is the only GC that I've never played ever. But
that's fair. That's fair. I understand that because they lose all the time,
but they get in quick.
They're really good. They're very good on Primal Data Server. They're
not so much on Aether.
No.
Gotta say.
I will point out though. I will point out though, when I was with adders, they never got last. It was always second place.
Second isn't first, so I'm just saying.
For a 1 minute queue, second place ain't bad. That's
all right,
a lot
fine.
of XP.
Fair. That's fair.
Uh-huh.
That's fair. Again.
Like when I was big into Frontlines on back when Secure was the big thing on my Bard, like I would swap out like all of my stuff just so it would have Determination and crit on it. So
you actually geared for PvP, huh?
Yeah, I used to, but now I'm like, it doesn't matter. Anyway, we have Aldrich Valkrum of Goblin on the line.
Aldrich, welcome to Limit Break Radio. Thanks for calling in,
Goblin. Bud. Thanks for having me, guys. How's your day going?
Good, man. Good. Thanks for giving us a call. So, what do you have to say about PvP?
Well, I got a couple of confessions. First, when I was in the lobby earlier and you guys were talking, today's episode is going to be PvP, I wasn't all that excited. I was like, okay, PvP.
Yeah, but you didn't hear that Joe Never was going to be our guest? That should have gotten you excited.
It got me a little bit excited. I've watched the stream a couple times.
It got me excited.
I'm excited right now.
Join the club. Anyway, so I wasn't expecting too much, but as I kind of got into it, listened to it a little bit more, I was really hoping for some key information. What's the best way I can get into it? Because I'm pretty new to PvP. I've done Slaughter a few times, and I've had a blast in it, but I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. And my second confession is that I'm that guy who's queued for it just to get the tomes. So
there's nothing wrong with that. I mostly queue for it for getting the tomes out of it.
So long as you're not cowboying up,
or just hitting that stealth button and just sitting.
I'm not
the
contributing.
Cowboy. You're not the cowboy.
So are you looking for like intro pointers, like?
Like, it was kind of asked a little bit earlier, but I know it got sidestepped a little bit. I realized that he says that the new mode is the only mode that anybody plays. Mm-hmm. But as somebody brand new coming to PvP, what's really the best mode to play in? Slaughter seems the simplest, but maybe I'm looking at it all wrong and there's a better starting point for people.
I'm going to say if you're at 60, Seal Rock is probably going to be the one to queue for because it has the most people queuing for.
Yeah, I mean, the thing you have to realize is, they all play a little bit differently, but they all give you exactly the same thing. So you're going to benefit the most by doing the one that people do.
So basically, you're just cutting down on your queue.
Yeah, and because the fact that PvP gear is useless in PvP, like, you don't need to worry about going out and like, oh, well, let me stock up on my PvP gear. Like whatever gear you have, just jump in.
Right.
And at least for me, anyway, maybe Joe has a different opinion on it, but just jumping in, learning the way that the mechanics work, how to actually play the mode and cooperate with your team. That's really all there is to it.
Yeah.
Based on your job or your class, obviously the way that you play is a lot different than in PvP or PvE. You're not going in there to do your rotation.
Right.
But that's something that you're going to pick up just by doing.
But your rotation gives you damage bonuses and stuff like that, so you don't want to be ignoring it either or just throwing abilities out at random.
Yeah.
And really, it takes participation in the event so you can kind of learn the flow of where everyone goes. And the nice part about Seal Rock, about what we were saying earlier, is being that it's dynamic, a lot of it is reactionary. So there isn't this like overall like dogmatic thought about the best, most efficient way to try to take points or what have you. You're gonna get like your first queue, it's gonna be chaos. You're not really gonna know what's going on, but that's okay. You're probably gonna die a lot. That's okay too. Just try to stick.
Not okay. Anymore.
Try to stick for your first time. It's fine. Try to stick with your group and and do what you're there to do. Heal people if you're on a healer. Do some damage if you're on a DPS, and take out a healer if you're on a tank.
I want to piggyback that question and actually just direct it at Joe, simply because I feel like I've gone in as monk, I've gone in as paladin, and I know what the jobs do in PvE. But when I go in, like, everyone's going this way, that way, you stand there, and like people already knew, like, if you're in the B party, you stay there, and if you're, I was so overwhelmed, I never went back in.
Was that
and
for
I feel like
Seal Rock or for
No,
Frontlines?
it was for Frontlines.
Yeah.
But when I'm thinking in general, as a brand new player first going in, what is the best like role that I should take on? Like, I clearly shouldn't be the one charging and trying to kill everyone. Like, what, as a very brand new PvP player, what should I be doing to ensure success and that I literally don't make my team fail?
Hell yeah. I'm so happy right now. So if you're talking about Seal Rock, the biggest thing, and I have macros set up for this, like, which is awesome. I have like very specific and very general. And the easiest thing is that, number one, even though it's player versus player, you're not going in to kill the other team. Killing in battle is an aspect. However, you're going in as a team to win. And that's where you're going. So how do you win? What can I do are the questions that are asked. You have to obtain nodes, you have to defend nodes, and you have to not die. So in order to obtain nodes, what is the best? You have to have somewhat of an ability to spread. You have to have somewhat of an ability to take either a leadership position or a following position, a soldier position. Sometimes I'll sit back and I'll be a soldier. Sometimes I'll come back and I'll be a general and say, this is exactly what it is. But if you're going into Seal Rock and you don't know, listen. If you're going into Seal Rock and you know, tell people things. That's what it is. If you're going in as a DPS, just know you have to be near a healer. If you're going in as a tank, you have to know what is the way that I can be most effective. Whatever class it is, how can I be most effective to my team? Not necessarily most effective to me, myself. Like, I've gone into different queues and I've said, hey, I'm going to go in and get 15 kills. That necessarily doesn't help my team. You know what I mean? If I'm going in as a member of a team and I want to learn, I'm going to be a part of that team. And then from there, go. You can ask questions, be vocal, be aware, because if someone's leading or someone's saying something, you're going to want to follow them with that plan. If you've got 20 people doing something and 4 people doing something else, you're probably not going to win.
Yeah,
now,
good point.
And that's very serious. You have to be a unit. Like, for the strategies that I employ, the things that I say in my macros are, hey guys, welcome to PvP. If you've never been here before, listen. If you've been here before, let's win. Just know you can eat food. You can change your gear to the maximum detriment, the maximum stats that your class has to offer. If you're DPS, crit and det, whatever that is, healers can spec some health so they don't die. You know, things like that. Be aware. We're not here to kill people. We're here to spread out. spread out before nodes and be aware for callouts. Like because the nodes pop in different places, I'll be posting coordinates all the time. I'll be dropping dots. I'll be dropping pins everywhere. So you have to be aware, and we have to be coordinated. If and you have to know how the game plays. Like if a B node spawns and an A node spawns, when is it situationally going to be better for us to get the A node? When is it going to be better for us to get X node? Like if 2 Bs spawn and 1 A spawns, you can get more points from 2 Bs than you can from 1 A. So if you know that some people are going to go to get the A's, go get the Bs as a team and express that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If an S rank spawns and 2 A's come out, 2 A's are better than 2 and then 1 S. And you know some teams are usually just going to run towards the S. It really, like, the biggest thing you can do as a beginner player is to try to not get frustrated and learn as much as you can. You can look up guides. I've been kicking myself because I've wanted to make these guides for such a fucking long time, man. Like, I really believe I could do a good job doing this.
Do it.
Yeah, totally.
You totally should,
man.
You're the guy who should.
I really, really believe in that, and I think I don't think anybody does it.
As a melee and specifically ninja, there are 2 ways that I play when I actually play. One of them, you have to be a ninja specifically, and that is when I notice that certain teams maybe don't have a lot of defense on some of their nodes, I'll stealth up and wait for a moment where they're not paying attention and basically unflag their node, because that will, they'll stop losing points for a second.
Right.
A lot of times I end up dying, but sometimes what it does is it'll pull their team away from other nodes because they'll think, oh shit, we're under attack over there. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is when a node that we're trying to defend is being attacked, because I'm not so good actually taking people down. I feel like as a ninja I put out a whole lot of damage. So I will stay on top of the node and I'll lay down Doton and AoE or throw down Death Blossom, just so people who are coming up trying to unflag our node can't, because once you get damage, it breaks it. So it's just finding out what way you work best and what you're best at doing. Also, as a ninja, stealthing around, when I know that a node's going to drop, like it's around like the 15-10% area, go out to where there aren't a lot of nodes up, where there's more of a chance of them spawning, and be ready to grab one.
And move preemptively too. If you notice that it's like within the last 10% of the nodes,
who cares?
Just move. Move. It's time. It is time to move. Find a new node. Start spreading for a new node.
The best advice I can give is, typically in each match there is going to be usually one person shouting out orders.
Yes.
Follow that person's orders. Like, it doesn't matter if it's the best or the worst. If you move as a unit, there is strength in numbers.
I was going to ask that question based on how much you guys have actually done PvP, but like, is there usually someone doing that, or do you get into a run sometimes where everyone's a follower?
Well, what's awesome is like when I have a chance to be the general and we queue up, like the tough thing with PvP is sometimes there'll be 2 queues running at the same time, and sometimes there'll be 1 queue going. So like all the issues with people having issues like getting into a queue, like sometimes that queue will pop instant after every single match. So when we get the same people every single time, they know I'm going to give orders. The only time, and this is something that everybody can learn from who wants to play PvP, the only time that doesn't work is when one motherfucker says, "You're wrong." No, don't listen to this guy. I got into a situation where one motherfucker was like, "Yo, you've got no clue what's going on, man." And the entire team rebelled against me.
Well, because
you know who he is?
Well, no, hang on. That's just an example of fucking groupthink and mob mentality.
Yeah. Correct.
Because this guy clearly, Joe, you have done your homework. We've listened, to you talk to us for an hour about PvP. Obviously, you know what you're talking about. But the fact of the matter is that 90% of people who queue for PvP don't actually know that much about PvP, right? So when you do have one person that challenges you on something, it has a way of throwing the whole works off. Whether they be right or wrong. That's just a word to the wise. Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
always the thing is this, is like, especially in a game that's all based in the beautiful thing called love, like, be a part of the solution. What can I do? Never put that thought in my head as we can't do this. We can't do this. Specifically in a game based around, like, if like I've seen it so many times in like the most clutch victories ever. If you get to 600 points and you get lazy and start dying, you can lose the game.
Yes,
that's like the most powerful swing.
Yeah, the other important thing, which you've mentioned before, but just to reiterate, where the way to win is to collect resources. Every time you die, you lose 5 resources. So if you don't have nodes up and you're dying, you're killing your team, literally.
Yeah. So, thank you very much for the call, Aldrich. I think that puts a pretty good end cap on our PvP discussion. Again, thank you,
Aldrich. Great question, man.
Great, fantastic question. We will take some more calls before the show is out here, but we do need to move on to emails.
I have one final question for Joe.
Oh, okay, sure.
I know that he actually he has to raid here shortly too, so he might not be able to stay the whole time. But I do have one final question for Joe, which I think he can finally answer now. Do you even LBR, bro?
Hold on. I want to get this right. Where's my damn emotes? Hold on. You put me on the spot.
He's got something planned.
I always get it wrong. Hold on.
I'm nervous.
I'm kind of nervous now too.
There we go. There it is in the chat with
Get Good.
With the Get Good. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is. So yeah, thank you so much, Joe. Joe, of course, of Joe Never Fails. You can find him on twitch.tv/Joe Never Fails. Also, Joe Never Fails on Twitter, and pretty much where else can people find you?
I'm at home base, usually every single day, twitch.tv/Joe Never Fails. If you ever want to be part of the family, part of the Goon Squad, we've got a Twitter, Facebook page, Instagram, new Vine. This is a brand new thing.
Yeah, I saw some of your Vines yesterday were fucking hysterical. I was cracking up.
Me and Juxta, I downloaded Vine on the way here today, and me and him were messing around with it because of Joe Never. I'm like, what's this all about?
Look what you did, Joe.
I bet we can do this.
Look what you did.
I'm telling you, it's so clever, and it's one of those things where social media is becoming such like a beautiful part of like this world, like the Twitch thing for me. Like, to have that and have people like be involved in my Facebook and be involved in my Twitter, like I can't not be a part of it. And I know you guys can do some really funny shit with it. And like, outside of just this world, like, some things that we find funny, like, I know other people will find funny too. So
yeah, absolutely.
That video right there, I made that thing in like 4 minutes rushing home to play ESO yesterday. And I was like, wow,
hilarious stuff. So yeah, make sure that you follow him, that you check out his channel, sub to his channel. Easily one of the best subs that you'll make on Twitch. So thank you so much, Joe, for joining us today as a special PvP guest. If you got to slide out for the raid, man, I totally understand. But we got to move on to emails here because we're running long. Yeah. We're running heavy.
It's all good. I just want to say thank you guys again, and it's an honor being friends with you guys, and thank you so much for the privilege.
Oh, dude, no. The honor is all ours. And I've said this on the show before. I've said this publicly before. But when I went out to FanFest and I got to meet you for the first time, your personality just jumped straight out at me, and I walked away from that entire weekend going, man, how can I be more like Joe Never? Just like your enthusiasm, your energy.
I think your dicks are good.
Just all of that stuff. It just was infectious, and I know I wasn't the only one that was caught up in it in that weekend. You were like, I swear to God, 50% of the reason that weekend was fun. So thank you so much for guest hosting the show today, and we're so glad that we could have you on, man.
I love you, Joe, even though you're a dragoon.
I love you guys. I love you so much too. Like, an arrow for the same way. Like, you felt that way. I feel this exact same way about you in this community. Like, you get me excited to be a part of this community at FanFest. For anybody who hasn't heard, like, at FanFest, my first experience seeing an arrow was sitting around a table full of people asking questions about you and like about this world. And I saw that like as an outsider looking in, like no one knowing who I was, like wanting to be involved in this community like you are, and that's what I love. And I've told you this a bunch of times, dude. I love what you guys do. You are very, very, very dedicated,
All this
loyal,
bromance.
hard-working individuals.
Aw.
Very
And you've
proud
got a chub
members
going
of
on
this
over here.
Final Fantasy community, yo. And there is no Final Fantasy community without you guys. So I love that to absolute death. And thank you guys for letting me be a part of it.
Did you say man crush?
Dude. Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun having you on today. So come back again. You're always welcome here.
Anytime, yo. You know that.
You're always welcome here on Limit Break Radio. All right, let's read some emails.
All right, I got the first one.
Take care, guys. I love y'all.
All right, take it easy, Joe. Thank you very much for joining us today. Again, follow him, twitch.tv/Joe Never Fails, at Joe Never Fails on Twitter. All right, first email, take it away, Kyle.
Take it away. Greetings, LBR. Kupo Kyle here. First, I wish to express how much I enjoyed the discussion of lore story in episode 25. It is by far my favorite episode. Your discussion sparked a similar discussion between myself and my free company. One of them pointed out something special, specifically someone out that you all did not talk about. Hilda the Mongrel. Although she played a small role, it was nonetheless vital. However, it is not her role in the coup d'etat that I wish to bring up. It's something a bit more superficial. Her ruby red eyes.
Ooh.
There are only 3 other NPCs, to my knowledge, that possess red eyes. Graha, the Makote that aided the wall in the CT arc.
Warrior of Light.
The Warrior of Light in the CT arc. Doga and Unai created clones of the ancient sages Doga and Unai. You probably know where I'm going with this. People with red eyes is a sign of people that have Allagan royalty in their blood. Is Hilda the Mongrel Allagan royalty? If so, on which parent's side? Fun fact, in the entire FF universe, there has only ever been 4 confirmed halflings. The other 3 are Tara Branford, Yuna, and Lily Set. Thanks, LBR, for reading my email. Shoutouts to Dan, Cody, Mike, and the FC Flames of Exile from the Gilgamesh server. P.S. Here's my obligatory pun. What do you call a fight between a monk and a scholar? A sucker punch.
I see what you did there.
That's interesting.
I never noticed her eyes.
Yeah, no, I didn't either.
Or if you, maybe I probably did, but I would have never really connected it to that.
Sure.
Besides the fact that her father was highborn and her mother was lowborn, do we get any other details about either of them?
I don't think so.
I don't think we really have either.
That, in the Shadows character that I feel like hopefully she'll get more of.
I certainly hope so. Yeah, she was a great character.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's totally a touch that I had not picked up on. Very, very interesting. I'm curious to know if there are other characters that appear with red eyes.
They make it a big point in the Crystal Tower scenes that this guy has one red eye, which means he's whatever, and the clones have red eyes. Like they really focused on that.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yuna's a half-breed?
Yeah, she's half Elbed.
Oh.
She's half Elbed and half.
All right, yeah. See, to me, Elbed is more like a nationality than it is a race. So, all right.
No, I mean it's not. Like Riku's got the swirly eyes, and Yuna has she has the 2 different.
Piss on it.
But then Tara, who's like half Esper and half person.
I feel like a Nero should probably read this next one.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. I was prepared to read this next one. So. Anyway, thank you very much for the email, Kupo Kyle. All right, let's take this next email. Hey, LBR, I heard you're looking for email from haters and SJWs who were bothered by the recent kerfuffle, and I guess you could count me among those.
Does he use that word kerfuffle? Oh my God, he does.
Yes.
I love you.
This is a longer version of what I tweeted in response to Nika, so here it goes. All right, now let me explain the situation for those that don't live on Twitter. Okay, I had stepped into, the whole show had gotten into a little bit of hot water with our last episode. Somebody out there, and I'm not gonna single out who it was, but somebody out there got kind of offended at the joke that I made on the show that was the Rogadan Lives Matter comment.
In reference to there not being enough Rogadans in the main story quest, and the ones that are there get killed off.
Right. And which I thought was a great joke. I thought it was funny. Given the context.
It had good context.
Given the context, it was totally appropriate. But no, there's some people felt that was offensive, and they wanted to share that opinion with me, and I do not share that opinion that joke is offensive. And I went on to say that I don't find any subject matter objectionable for a joke. Like there I know, right? what a horrific thing to say. But that the idea that I had put out there is that there is no invalid material for a joke. Somebody responded on Twitter by saying, even this really bad thing, and I said, yeah, unfortunately, even this really bad thing, because that's what I believe. There really is no... There's nothing that is so bad that it can't be processed through humor.
That's not to say that you should make those jokes anywhere.
Nor did we make those jokes.
That's not saying that you should go to a funeral of someone who died at cancer and tell a cancer joke and then say, oh, no, it's valid.
Right.
There are inappropriate times, absolutely.
Sure.
Context matters.
Sure, context matters. Absolutely. Context matters. So I basically spent time on Twitter defending the idea that all jokes are valid. Now, it provided, since Twitter is limited to 140 characters, it provided some people really good retweet fodder to make to make me look like a gigantic asshole.
Which, to be fair, he is a gigantic asshole.
I'm a gigantic
Huge one.
Gigantic asshole just for entirely different reasons, okay? So now that you have the context for
because context matters,
let's continue on with the email. I thought the joke was unfortunate, but by itself, I'd probably ignore it. We all have personal lines when it comes to appropriate and inappropriate humor, and I'm mature enough to realize that mine is not the same as everyone's. As long as it's not a reoccurring habit, I'm usually happy enough to ignore and move on, as I've done before with the "she looks like a man" jokes.
Oh, that's my favorite.
I'm sure.
The bigger problem, in my view, was with y'all's reaction to the criticism. I realized some of it was militant. Anna especially tends to be consciously over the top, so it can be hard not to punch back just as strong. But at the same time, the flow of, quote, goddamn liberal SJW censorship tweets bothered me quite a bit. That's the kind of stupid shit that I have to put up with from Gamergate dweebs, and it's not really something I want to deal with when I'm relaxing. People who like to throw around the "you don't have the right to not be offended" stuff, that's a double negative. That's a really weird way to put that.
What they mean is you don't have the right to be offended?
I don't know what they're... and that's true, but at the same time, offended is sort of a weasel word at this point. A better one, in my view, is hurt jokes. Jokes can hurt, even when they're dumb, even when it's not intended. No one's saying that you have to grovel and beg for forgiveness, but have a little bit of empathy. If I accidentally hit someone, I'm probably going to say, "Oh, sorry about that, didn't mean to hurt you." Not "goddamn thin-skinned SJWs." Even a response as simple as "sorry it bothered you, I can understand where you're coming from, I didn't think the joke was that bad, but I'll think more about it and keep it in mind for the future," shows basic empathy without taking blame you don't think you deserve. So that's it. I'm not mad you made the joke that some people, myself included, was problematic. I'm mad that you chose the path of righteous defender of the free speech instead of maybe trying to understand why that topic hit a nerve. There's a million different things to do with my free time, and contrary to popular belief, we SJWs don't want to fight a goddamn ethical war every time we sit down to listen to a funny podcast. So it's easier just to move on to 90%. So it's easier just to move on 90% of the time. Thanks for listening. Take care. Vietra Macram of the Excalibur server. Okay, first of all, thank you for your email. That was so
eloquently
put and reasonably stated. Most of the criticism that I got through Twitter and the 140 characters that it provides was far more vitriolic than that. So I do appreciate you taking the time to sit down and properly express your points. So let's just start there. The second thing is that, the problem that I have here is that I disagree with the point that you think my material is offensive. And if I disagree, I have every right to push back if you say you don't like it or that you didn't think it was funny or whatever your criticism is. This is the problem that I have. Any organization has a real problem being able to defend its work and the things that it says when there is a backlash, okay? And that's the thing that I don't like. I have an opinion, and that is all jokes are valid, all material is valid, and there's nothing that I said that undercut that point. There's nothing, I never even told an offensive joke for people to get riled up at. So where is the outrage coming from exactly? And the fact, the notion that I should have to find some sort of tact to be able to deal with criticism, I don't. I frankly don't. And nobody does. It's a choice. It's a choice that we all make. We can choose to be an asshole or not. I choose to be an asshole sometimes. I knew what I was saying was going to be inflammatory and taken out of context and piss some people off. But you know what? It's my opinion. It's the thing that I believe. It's how I program this show. It's how, you know what? People said I tried to compare myself to comedians. I've been on stage, motherfucker. I've actually gone up and done stand-up comedy. I've gone up and done improv comedy. This is a thing this is a subject that I've been thinking about in an intellectual level since I was 18 goddamn years old. And you know what? Yeah, I have opinions about humor. I'm an entertainer. Don't act so fucking surprised, man. I don't understand. How is it that people are surprised when I feel that I can defend myself or defend my jokes or defend my position? That's the thing that people aren't used to, because they're not used to being told no. And you know what? I'm not going to be one of those. I'm just not. I'm not going to treat you guys like children. You guys, this audience is notable for being a few things. They're notable for being generous, they're notable for being mature, and they're notable for expressing their positions and their opinions in a way that is thoughtful and expressive. All right? And you know what? I feel comfortable enough with this audience where I can say some shit that might offend people, but guess what? They're probably going to listen to the full context, or at least hear my full argument out.
The people who matter anyway.
Yeah. So, you know what? I don't care if you're offended. You can be offended. You can be offended by any number of the things that I say on this show. It's fine. It's not going to...
I feel like that the joke, if we were aiming to offend someone, we could have made it so much worse. Like the thing, like when we said that on the show, it completely went just right through my head and out the other ear. Like it didn't even faze me as a thing. Like, so I mean, you're allowed to be offended, but the fact is that there are people who, like the stand-up comedians you're talking about, who like actually aim to offend people, and that wasn't our case. So it is the context, and I think people are completely ignoring.
But you know I think there was probably some listeners that heard it, were a little bit offended, but like the person that sent in the email, were like, whatever.
Yeah.
But when someone mentioned it on Twitter, these other people that had no context for it looked at it, obviously drew the obvious parallels to it, and when they have no context, they're going to automatically assume that the joke was made in light of what it's, referencing.
Sure. Yeah.
And in that case, I could see how that would be even more offensive.
That's the horrible thing about
that
Twitter.
Wasn't the case.
Who gets offended without actually taking the time to figure out what the proper context was in the first place?
The internet.
I know. But you know what? It's goddamn stupid. And I honestly believe that the Limit Break Radio audience is smarter than that.
No, I agree. And like you said, you have your right to your opinion. They have every right to be offended. We have every right to defend ourselves.
Right.
And if you want to argue and he wants to argue, fine. The two of you argue until someone's red in the face and gives up and we move on. Who gives a shit?
Yeah. I mean, that's really what this show is all about. It's about discussion. It's about sharing ideas, and to just kind of be lumped into a category because of an idea about humor is, I don't accept it. I don't think it's valid. You haven't done your homework. You haven't bothered to figure out the context, and you just reacted. All you did was react, and that's kind of the attitude that we rail against in general here. But yeah, like that whole entitled thing where it's like my feelings are hurt. Like when did sticks and stones may break your bones become fucking irrelevant? Like when did that idea just go away? Like kids are dicks to each other all the time. And if a kid has his feeling hurt, you tell them, hey, well, don't worry about it. That other kid's a dick. You know what I mean? Like, it's just...
It's like it's just on the internet. There's that joke by Danny Glover, I think his name is Donald Glover. Yeah, where he's like, I overheard some kids, and one goes up and grabs a basketball from the other one, goes, "This is why your mom's in a wheelchair." You can say that? Yeah, Donald Glover, you can say that. It's not nice.
It's not
but
nice.
You can say that.
And at the end of the day, okay, the people who I am answerable to, the only people that I am answerable to is the Limit Break Radio audience. And yes, I get it. You're a part of the Limit Break Radio audience because you listen and therefore you feel like you're entitled to shit your opinion everywhere and anywhere where people will listen to you. And that's fine. And I'll engage you on that point. But don't automatically assume that if you come to me saying that you're offended by something, that I am under any obligation to just roll over and say, well, sorry, you didn't like it. I have every right to say, no, fuck you, that was a good joke. And that's the part that people can't sit with. That's the part that really bothers people. And you know what? To all of you people who are really upset over Twitter and want to fucking protest the show or try to get people to bail from our Patreon or want to encourage people not to tune in to our racist shenanigans. Here's the real. I'm going to help you out here, okay? Haters, I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to tell you how you can actually hurt Limit Break Radio's bottom line, okay? The only way that you can hurt Limit Break Radio's bottom line is by stealing our audience. You got to take our audience. And you know what? I'm going to let you take them. You can have them, okay? I love this audience. I love them to death. But you can have them. Here's the thing. You got to convince them. You have to make a product that's better than ours and convince them on merits of your show and your talent that their time is better spent with you than it is with Limit Break Radio. The gauntlet has been thrown down, motherfucker. You want to criticize? Add to the fucking pile.
Welcome to the LBR Fuck You Tour. Also, toxic waste. That will also hurt the LBR bottom line, like radioactive stuff that would kill us dead.
Well, actually, I believe there's like some kind of river out in like the mountains where like the EPA was supposed to like make it not toxic, and they fucked up, and now the river is orange and very toxic.
What?
What? What are you talking?
What does that have to do with anything?
I'm so confused.
I'm saying that toxic waste is bad.
Yeah, thank you.
I had a point, but it's gone. It's really hot in here, and I lost it.
Totally gone. Anyway, so there you go. I was going to save this subject for a final encountercast, and maybe we'll
expand upon it.
Yeah, get real deep into this
nitty gritty
into this subject on final encountercast. But since somebody sent an email about it, I did want to address it. It did happen this past week. Some people were upset by it. Some people had their nettles raised about it.
Would you say that their jimmies were rustled?
Their jimmies were definitely rustled, a maximum over rustle. So just wanted to be able to address that, since we here at Limit Break Radio believe in addressing drama head on. So
why'd you come at me so hard, bro?
Right? So anyway, Vietra Macram, thank you very much for your email. Very interesting, and again, I do appreciate how well spoken you were on the matter, and not just reactionary tool. So all right, let's do 2 more emails here, and then we're going to move on.
I think if we do the next 3, because one's like a line, and I think Juxta should read that.
Oh, okay. All right. So, Nika, how about you take our next email here?
Sure. It says, "Hello, dear hosts of LBR. It seems like a lot of discussions lately go around the subject of making content easier versus making it harder, people bitching about it being too hard, etc. I am not a long-time FF14 player, but I have played other MMOs quite a bit, and I'd like to... Someone's target is covering up my words. Stop that. I'd like to share my thoughts. First off, I want to say that I do not believe that nerfing content is a viable solution. What I think is that people need to ask questions. Why is it that so many players find the content unachievable for them, and how can we provide the solution? The problem that I see is that even if the content's difficulty is appropriate, the game itself is flawed. Having DPS checks on boss fights while giving no tools to monitor personal DPS is flat out stupid. Fair point. How the hell am I supposed to know which rotation between X, Y, and Z is optimal? One of the highlights of other games is their ability to run add-ons. Game developers would look at top-downloaded add-ons and try to make them a part of their default UI, stealing with pride, as they say. I know the console version limits what they can do about this, but it does not mean they can't try to polish it.
Something that WoW did well.
And FF14 had mentioned something like that, but they pushed it way, way far into the future, I believe. Now it says, how badly would it change things? Here's my story. Back when I raided in World of Warcraft BC, I don't know which... Burning Crusade, Thank you. I was running as a healing druid. After the first couple of easier bosses, we hit a wall in our progression. Something wasn't right and we had to figure it out. After running healing meters, we observed that other druid healers were doing about 20 to 30% less healing than me. I had to sit down and discuss this with them. Even after that, I couldn't figure it out. What I ended up doing was sending them a copy of my UI setup. See, if it would help them, it would help them keep track of their buff up times, cooldowns, etc. Next thing I know, on the following raid, not only did I get schooled on the healing meters, but we managed to clear all bosses in one sitting. This wasn't from running specific add-ons, but simply by giving us a better UI customization. In FF14, I play a bard, FML, optimizing...
Cast arrow.
Optimizing DPS when you need to keep track of uptime on 2 dots, 1 buff, 1 proc, and multiple cooldowns can be a bitch with this current UI. I don't think asking for better party frames, better layout for buffs, debuffs is unreasonable. What are your thoughts? Thanks for reading, and sorry for shitty English. I'm just a French-Canadian tagging along. Edard Bunanza of Lamia server.
Oh, your English was actually pretty flawless.
No. Your English is really good. Don't worry about it.
For starters, my current thought is try playing a summoner. We have 3 dots, 2 or 3 buffs.
Wait. Suddenly, he's a summoner, guys.
I'm the show summoner. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Maybe you should get a hold of Lila and let her make sure she knows to do your action figure in summoner garb.
Oh, bring up the action figure, huh?
Yeah.
A little jelly.
I'm an action figure.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Nah, I just want to mention that Juxta sent that drop to me specifically to have for the show.
You couldn't have warned me. I wouldn't have brought that up.
That's why I didn't warn you.
Yeah,
looking at a Nero here.
It did appear. Whatever. It's organic. It's
you
fine.
had to give that to him.
It's organic. Yeah. Anyway, your English is fine. Don't worry about it.
Juxta was talking about him being a summoner now. Or were you done with your point?
Oh, yeah, that's it.
You're a dick. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
All right,
So, what do you guys think about UI customization? We've talked about mods. We've talked about add-ons before.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, well, first of all, FF14 has way more customization than previous MMOs I've played. While withstanding, because of the whole UI thing and be able to change stuff, being able to move things around, and I just realized that you can now make things different sizes too. That's really cool.
You can.
There are definitely some things that would be better. For example, I mean, right now you want to look at your dots. I do have the target bar pulled down just above my hotkeys, so that I'm not looking all the way across the screen, right? But one of the things I used to have in WoW, because I played a Shadow Priest, which was notorious for like 80 to 90% of their damage coming from dots. Like you had 5 different dots in the prime that you had to keep up all at once.
Right.
And the best add-on basically put little bars on the side so you could see it ticking down. A green bar, yellow when it was halfway through, getting down to red, so you knew, shit, gotta put it back up soon, right? A lot of times my dots will fall off, or one of the reasons I'm kind of cutting down my playtime with him, we'll be doing something. Where the fuck is Dancing Edge? Put up Dancing Edge. Put up your own goddamn Dancing Edge, you piece of shit.
Hey, well, when you're talking...
my DPS is higher. That's because you're not putting up Dancing Edge and you're just spamming fucking Aeolian Edge, you cocksucker.
No, that doesn't contribute to 150 DPS, bro. It sure doesn't.
No, you know what? You know what does? Blood for blood.
It's true.
Yeah.
Still, I'm done putting up Dancing Edge when we're in parties together.
Yeah.
But yes, I think it could help. It's not going to hurt. So.
I think that add-ons are as soon as the API comes out, they're legit, because then
we're going to see a revolution in the game.
Square Enix can kind of dictate what they want to be able to be edited and what they don't. So I think that's really the only place that you kind of get into a gray area is does the EULA support it or not? Some people were saying in the chat that Blizzard also doesn't encourage mods; they just discourage it. But WoW does have an API, doesn't it? It has an open open development structure. So that's, I think, the big difference between the two.
Like you can see, I used to always like going on, I forget what the website was, to look at people's custom UIs, and I've seen people set up their UIs to where it looked like they were playing fucking Street Fighter.
Yeah. Yeah, and customization of what you want the menus to look like. I think that's fair.
Yep.
Yeah.
All really cool.
All of that is fair. All right, Juxta, why don't you take this next email?
All right, this next email is from Anonymous.
Okay.
It says, "I'd totally pay for Coil cutscenes."
Wow.
Good job. All right.
You're a little late to the table on that topic there, buddy.
Do they just mean that they just like throw money and be like, here's money, yeah, I downloaded the cutscene for money?
I guess. I don't know. YouTube, dude.
Cash Shop cutscenes. They want Cash Shop cutscenes.
Fucking YouTube, man.
Yeah, YouTube is
But
free.
my character's not on it.
Fuck off. God. All right. Let's take one more email here. Kala, why don't you read our last email?
Hello, hosts. I just want to ask a question. One of Final Fantasy XI's expansions, Wings of the Goddess, you got to go into the past of Vana'diel. Would you guys want something like that to be in Final Fantasy XIV to be able to relive 1.0 stuff so that people that never did could see how things were and how things changed from 1.0 to 2.0? Thanks for reading, Vanyan from Midgar Swarmer.
I think this is kind of a cool concept. I just think the amount of development time that it would take to be able to put it in would just be absolutely insane.
I don't think you could actually go back to 1.0 and play things the way they were. Like, we wouldn't want to go back to 1.0 and play that version of Garuda or something like that.
Right,
but in order to see the way the world was before the Calamity would be kind of cool.
And I think that they can do that in cutscenes too.
Yes.
But
like they could do echo flashbacks to 1.0.
There is no possible way that you can get the mechanics from 1.0 to be the same. And, so much of the mechanics from the fights carried over from 1.0 to 2.0 when they kept the fights. Like, for example, Zamel Darkhold or, the some of the early Primal fights. Most of those mechanics were ripped straight out of their 1.0 derivative. And because of that, if you modified the fights to have 2.0 mechanics, that's sort of the form that they would end up taking.
Well, you actually hit the nail right on the head when you first opened up the dialogue about it's a cool concept, but I think where you have to look is what made 1.0 memorable. And it wasn't things like mechanics or gameplay. It was the actual storyline. So
it was the world building. Yeah.
Exactly. Introducing some type of, maybe not expansions or patches, but some type of little add-on scenarios that took you back and let you relive certain moments, I do think would be very cool.
But not only that, it's not just that. It's only that the world building had a payoff, because of 2.0 and because the world continued. That's the only reason that world building is legitimate to say that when 1.0 did well, because had 1.0 been had the game been canceled, I don't think anyone would have been terribly heartbroken at the loss of Eorzea as a world.
Right, and the best way to go about it would be doing is have one of those bards, right? The whole like Requiem of Steam and Steel or the Requiem, whatever the Ultima one was called. Have the bard come up with the Requiem of the Warrior of Light, where you actually get to go back and relive the original Warrior of Light memories, and at the end of at the end of this whole campaign, or this whole thing, you get the legacy tattoo. That would be really sweet.
Oh, no.
Really cool.
No, it gets those legacy titles.
No.
The legacy titles.
No, those are some good ones.
There's some really good ones.
I missed a lot of those, and I'm sad.
The legacy tattoo, actually, we had mentioned this earlier about digital exclusivity. The digital tattoo is actually, the legacy tattoo is actually a really good example of digital exclusivity, because only people who had active accounts in the 1.0 era got those. And there's no way that you can replicate it.
You took that way more seriously than I wanted you to.
What? You wanted to troll me?
Obviously.
No, but
I'm not going to give the legacy tattoo to people.
That was a big point of our episode about the digital exclusivity, so it was a good point to be able to make. I have a tattoo, and I love it, and I flaunt it all the time, like right now.
Yeah, I found a way to make that dig legitimate, or to make it relevant.
Did you Daffy Duck me?
I did. I don't think that's actually how that worked, but anyway.
Close enough.
So, yes, thank you for that email, Vanya. What I would be more interested in an expansion that would take us to the past would be being able to explore things like the floating city of Nim, or
if they
places.
Did do this, it would have to,
Silda,
as an expansion, do more than just give us what has already been given.
Right.
Use it in a smarter way than WoW did with their traveling back in time shit, or even what Wings of the Goddess did, which isn't to say that Wings of the Goddess wasn't bad, because it did do some cool things, but find a new way to use that trick, because it is kind of an old one.
Yeah, it definitely is, and not only that, but I mean, like, you know, we've already seen how a cataclysm can reshape the world once. I think going back to that narrative device after 1.0 to 2.0 probably would not be as effective. But what would be really cool, because what we discovered from 1.0 to 2.0 is to see the world in a previous iteration before one of those big calamities, because we get little hints of those throughout architecture, throughout, whatever, the ruins that we encounter in the game. It's one of those contextual clues and part of the lore that is not explicitly stated. It's not part of the narrative lore. It's part of the world lore.
And that's another reason too that I think that you would have to do it to do it right and to do it really, really well is to do it in a narrative fashion, primarily with cutscenes, because what kind of reward or what's the point of really going back and being like, oh, let's all run through South Shroud as it was? Like, is there really a lot to be gleaned from that?
That was one of the things that Wings of the Goddess did really well. I know that at the time that we had kind of complained about it, but that they had truncated large parts of the world. And, when you think about it, like, yeah, as long as they're putting events in there that make those zones relevant or give it a purpose for traveling through, that whole narrative idea of going back in the past is really cool. But the minute that you have superfluous zones or superfluous areas
just for the sake of having them again,
it becomes way less interesting.
More than nostalgia.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. But a really good idea. Again, thank you, Vanyan, for the email, and I think that is going to do it for emails. We had a lot more emails. Again, we keep getting tons and tons of emails for each and every show. Thank you guys so much for your enthusiastic, fascinating, and just plain engaged emails. You guys are clearly engaged with the content that we're putting out. You guys are listening a lot, and boy, do we ever appreciate it. We sure do appreciate it. And if you listen to Limit Break Radio a lot, maybe you'd like to take the next step and support us on Patreon, and you can do that by going to patreon.com/limitbreakradio. Patreon is a service that allows us to seek funding from our audience so that we don't have to do something like find advertisers and have to create content that is the most satisfying to those advertisers or the most appropriate for those advertisers. The reason that we're able to say the things that we want to do the content that we want to do, is because of your direct support, and that happens at patreon.com/limitbreakradio. We have a lot of different levels that you can give at. Give whatever's appropriate for your budget. $1 a month, $5 a month, maybe even $10 a month, hell, maybe $50 a month. There's
$1,000 a month.
There's tons of different gifts for different gift levels that you give at, and we do that as a way to say thank you for your support of Limit Break Radio. We couldn't do it without our audience, and I said earlier that anyone has the ability to step in and take our audience at any time, but you know what? You have to convince them. They are a smart bunch, and they're totally wise to a whole bunch of bullshit that exists out there. And if you want to go after them, by all means, offer what you think Limit Break Radio doesn't offer. Provide a show, provide content that you think that we're short-sighted on.
Pro tip: don't go after the dick joke market, because we got a corner on that.
We do. We absolutely do. If you think you can create a better show, go for it, because we invite
the show more neutral.
We invite you to try. We invite you to try to make a better show than Limit Break Radio. But we know that you won't, and we know that our audience is so super loyal. And a final point that I really want to make about this whole Twitter kerfuffle that I had kind of forgotten before is it's not about the things that you say. All right. It's about what you do, either as a person or an organization. It's about what you do to make the most impacting, long-lasting good. Okay. As an organization, Limit Break Radio has stepped up on several different times to be able to do that, to step in and make a noticeable, long-term good somewhere where we can. We've done it with Extra Life. Ascalia did it with Seeds of Acceptance. That's what matters. It's not armchair activism. It's not sitting at your fucking Twitter page and telling people about the content that you're offended in, okay? If it means that much to you, get up off your ass and do something about it. Start a show that you think counters Limit Break Radio. Get off your ass, get out into the street, make a sign, tell other people about how you feel, okay? It's not just about Twitter. Twitter's the absolute laziest fucking way that you can express your opinions without actually backing it up and doing something after you sent that tweet, okay? And that's not just my opinion, that's a fact. Shit doesn't change just because you want it to and you post it or retweet it. And that's... You know what? I can't change that. If you don't like that fact, you have to change that. You've got to get up, you've got to speak for yourself, and you've got to change it. All right, that's going to do it for Limit Break Radio. I appreciate you guys tuning in today. All 266 of you. That's been as high as like 315 today.
Yep.
And we do apologize for whatever that weird Twitch hiccup was that we experienced in the middle of the show there. We're not sure what that was, but we're so glad that you guys would stick around. Again, I want to thank our very special guest from this episode, Joe Never of Joe Never Fails. Make sure that you follow his Twitch stream. That's twitch.tv/Joe Never Fails. Follow him on Twitter. That's at Joe Never Fails. And, buy his t-shirts. He's got some great t-shirts. We own some of his t-shirts. WikiWoo. Do you even PvP, bro? Go. I mean, seriously, he's got some great t-shirt designs. Go check him out. We cannot thank Joe enough for appearing on the show and taking some time to talk to us about PvP. That's going to do it from us here at Limit Break Radio. I would like to thank my co-hosts, Kalo Landis, Juxtaposition, and Nika Kayanian, and a special shout out and thank you to Ascalia Rayumasa in his wonderfully successful Seeds of Acceptance charity event. Make sure that you stay tuned for more of those. We're going to have more of those coming up, and make sure that you check out our brand new website over at limitbreakradio.com. That's it for us. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Nero. Keep listening. Limit Break Radio is a production of LimitBreakRadio.com and Bender Media Productions. Today's episode was produced by Kalo Landis, Aniro Grigori, and Nika Kayanian. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. Funding for Limit Break Radio is provided by Miri Kennett, Scry De La Rosa, Zurian Urexin, Satori Komeji, Karquin Albarn, Rajan Nelka, and fellow Limit Break Radio listeners. To support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. Opening music in this episode from Daniel Lambie. Listen to Man with the Machine Gun and other great tracks at facebook.com/Daniel Lambie Metal Gamer. Closing music in this episode provided by Husky by the Geek. Listen to this and other great Final Fantasy XIV and video game rock covers and original music at facebook.com/Husky by the Geek. In-game graphics for Limit Break Radio's Twitch stream are provided by Diamond Multimedia. Check out their line of AMD graphics cards and other hardware at diamondmm.com. Limit Break Radio and its hosts are solely responsible for its content. Thanks for listening to Limit Break Radio, episode number 26, live on twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. If you haven't yet, if it's your first time hanging out for the show and you like what you've seen, hit that follow button. Come back for future episodes. We're live each and every single Sunday here on Limit Break Radio. Now, most of the time, we said last time we wanted to actually have mini encounter casts after each and every single episode. Well, unfortunately, since we're down in Ascalia today and he acts as our official news person, we're not going to be able to do a mini encounter cast this week, and we're probably not going to be doing a mini encounter cast next week. I know you guys are super bummed about that, but it's okay because we're going to come back with a full Final Encounter cast episode probably the week after. We'll have more information about scheduling over at our website, finalencountercast.com. Again, make sure that you check out our brand new website over at limitbreakradio.com for any and all future scheduling information about Limit Break Radio. Thanks so much for listening to the stream today. We're going to toss out a host here in a few minutes, and make sure you check out whoever we're going to be hosting. Take it easy and have a great night, Eorzea.